January 23rd, 2018 meeting of the Marion County School Board is called to order. For the courtesy of those listening to the meeting, I am requesting everyone in the audience please turn off your electronic devices or put them on vibrate. Later in the meeting, up to 30 minutes will be provided for individuals to address the board on matters concerning the operation of the Marion County school system or the school board only. Presentations to the board are limited to 5 minutes and are televised. If you wish to address the board regarding a regular agenda item or matters on which the board customarily takes action, you must first complete a peach form located on the table in the hallway. If you wish to address the board regarding a public hearing or a student discipline matter, please complete the lime green form. These forms must be fully completed and received by the board secretary no later than 5:40 p.m. The procedures applicable for each are on a separate sheet of paper. Madam Secretary, please call the roll.
Miss Nancy Stacy, District 1.
Here.
Mr. Bobby James, District 3.
Here.
Miss Angie Boynton, District 4.
Here.
Miss Beth McCall, District 2.
Here.
Miss Kelly King, District 5.
Here.
Dr. Heidi Mayer, Superintendent.
Here.
Mr. Paul Gibbs, School Board Attorney.
Here.
Thank you. Mr. Mark Bianello, Executive Director of Career and Technical Education. Please come forward and introduce the individuals who will be providing the inspiration and leading us in the pledge.
Yes, ma'am. Good evening, Madam Chair, Madam Vice Chair, board members, Superintendent, Mr. Gibbs, Mrs. Chuley. We're awfully proud of our CTE programs and the students who are in our CTE programs. Tonight, I'm going to introduce to you 10 students, one from each high school and one from Marion Technical College. And then we will have 2 students lead us in, one in the inspiration and one in the pledge. So I introduce to you first from North Marion High School, representing their IT program, Siler Vaden. From Marion Technical Institute, representing Skills USA, we have Alexis Lugo.
Right there, right there.
From Bellevue High School, representing FFA, we have Riley Rowe.
Riley, right up here. There you go.
From Lake Weir High School, representing the logistics program, and you'll recognize the Career Choice Academy shirt, we have Shiloh Harris. From Forest High School, representing the digital video production program, we have Caitlin Dickey. From Denellen High School, representing the power and energy program, we have Tiana Joyner. From Marion Technical College, representing the medical assisting program, we have Rachel Heft. And lead us in the inspiration in just a moment, from Westport High School, representing the HOSA program, is Karanti Rumala. And last, Karanti, you can stay right next to me here. And last but not least, from Vanguard High School, who will lead us in the pledge, representing the FBLA program, is Salim Abute. Karanti, you're up.
In continuing the journey of self-actualization and personal fulfillment, one quote stands above all to me. The best way to find yourself is to lose yourself in the service of others. In helping others, people learn to have a meaning, a passion, and a focus. Personally, my outlet is healthcare. Hi, I'm Kranti Ramala, a student of Westport in the College of Central Florida, and Vice President of HOSA for my chapter and region. You may ask, what is HOSA exactly? It stands for Health Occupation Students of America. It represents itself as a collection of all passionate future healthcare workers, ranging from ages 11 to 18, from middle to high school, across the entire country and even other parts of the world. Health Occupation Students of America have had a great influence for over 40 years running. Its mission is to enhance the delivery of compassionate, quality healthcare by providing opportunities for knowledge, skill, and leadership development for all health science education students. Throughout all of Westport's 9 health classes with the same mission in mind, we work to deliver the best healthcare education. All of our classes are united through HOSA. With over 250 students, we have a great influence in our region. Our biggest accomplishment is placing 3rd in the world at the 40th International Leadership Conference in our HOSA Bowl. Educating and promoting healthcare to the younger population is of utmost importance. Most of the fastest growing fields are related to or use healthcare knowledge. In a world with disease, discontinuous health care, high medical expenses, canceled surgeries, and forgotten souls, encouraging the youth to rise up and tackle these problems of the future is a must. My dedication to healthcare stems from the knowledge I have gained and from my love of medicine. HOSA and the career and technical programs at Westport are key in my journey to improve the healthcare system. I have seen firsthand the impact it can have on a life, a family, and the world as a whole. Find your passion and follow it. Strive to make the world a better place for yourself and everyone else around you. Ralph Waldo Emerson has said, "To know even one life has breathed easier because you have lived is to have succeeded." With all the opportunities I have been given, I can know at such a young age that healthcare is my purpose. We have to strive to educate the youth and how choosing a job for service and the well-being of others is rewarding. Any career one feels passion for should follow. It's our job to make sure he or she has the opportunity. There is HOSA's overall mission statement, but to extrapolate, that is our mission statement, to make sure everyone has the opportunity to succeed. Thank you.
Could you please stand for the pledge? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. You may be seated.
Thank you all very, very much.
Thank you.
Dr. Mayer?
Yes. I recommend approval of the agenda for the January 23rd, 2018 school board meeting with the materials in the board packet, those materials distributed to board members at the meeting, and the audio recording included as part of the official record of the meeting.
May I have a motion on the superintendent's recommendation?
Move.
Moved by Ms. Boynton,
Second.
seconded by Mr. James. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, like sign. And the motion passed 5-0. May I have a motion to approve the minutes for the December 7th, 2017 administrative briefing and work session?
So moved.
Mr. James moved,
Second.
seconded by Ms. Boynton. Are there any additions or corrections to the minutes? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, like sign. Motion passed 5-0. Mrs. Judy Zanetti of the Public Education Foundation would like to recognize 2 business partnerships.
Good evening, Chairman McCall, Superintendent, and school board members. It's always an honor and a privilege to be here with you this evening, and I always do appreciate you allowing the Public Education Foundation time on your busy agenda to recognize those businesses and individuals in the community that come forward to support our schools in name and in deed. And our schools are a reflection of our community, and Ocala-Marion County is a great place to live with lots of great support. So first we're going to recognize our new business partner with Hillcrest School. And I'm going to call up to the podium Principal Miss Lori Manresa. And with Lori, she's got friends from the Ocala-Marion County Association of Realtors. Darlene Yance is with us, Randall Alvarad, Suzanne Shields, and Steve Rudiani. And if you would all come up, please.
We have 2 other people that are here also, but I'm sorry.
Okay, who is here?
Suzanne Alcorn and Ashley Yates.
Okay, Suzanne Alcorn and Ashley Yates, come on up. Excited to have you here. And you all know, board members, that Hillcrest is a special school with our most special students. And we're very excited to have found a very special business partner. And I have certificates for each of you, but first I'll let Principal Manresa say a few words.
Thank you. Good evening, everybody. It's a pleasure to be here and standing before all of you. I just wanted to thank the Marion County Board of Realtors. They happened to walk into the foundation one day and saw a list of schools that was needing a business partner, and they picked us. and I feel blessed that they're a part of our family now. We actually invited them to join us for a tour. They came, they visited. I wanted them to see what we're all about and what they're investing their time and efforts in. They believe in our vision and our mission, and I am extremely grateful. So thank you all for joining us at Hillcrest, and you're now part of the magic that happens on the Hill. So thank you.
Would someone from the Associated Realtors like to say a few words?
It's always me. It's always me.
Sorry, Randy.
Again, I warned you a couple months ago that we would be back because of this honor. And again, when we toured the school the other day, I mean, it's just the perfect fit, I think, in our opinion. Everyone was there. We had a huge group. There was like 10 or 15 of us. We were expecting 3. The job that they do over there is just phenomenal. I'm going to blow my own horn here, but my daughter, that day I got a notice that she was selected to read, or what's the Make the Magic Happen program. So she'll be there Thursday reading to the students. So I was super excited about that. But like I said, the Community Awareness Committee with the Association of Realtors, you know, we just love everything with the school board. You know, we continue the grants, and we're even going to try to bid on Dragon this year at the youth fair. So we'll see what we can do, just a little bit of extra, what we can do.
That's great.
So.
Thank you so much, Randy.
All right.
Appreciate everything.
Randy, I have that for you all. And we have one that will be placed at the school. Thank you very much.
Thank you all very much.
Oh, she's behind us. Oh, okay, great. Oh, you snuck in. Okay, so we have one more business partner recognition for you this evening, and that is East Marion Elementary School, and their principal, Suzette Parker, is here, and Dave Taylor from American Dream Residential. Suzette?
Well, I'm really honored to be here this evening, board members, Dr. Mayor. It's wonderful to have Mr. Taylor on board with us. He also chose us, which was a wonderful feeling. He came to East Marion because he really has a heart and a spirit for our community. So not only is he going to support our successes and celebrations with our teachers and staff and students primarily, but he also works in the community serving, making affordable housing for our families. So he supports our community in so many ways. So we're honored to have Mr. Taylor at American Dream Residential as our business partner, and I brought you some East Marion gear.
Great. All right.
So everyone will know that you're part of our East Marion family. So,
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you. My pleasure. Yes.
Sure.
Sure thing. All right. Well, thank you, Suzette. Appreciate everything that you've done for us, and we're really happy to be able to help and serve out there with you out there at East Marion. It's a beautiful school. The school is absolutely gorgeous. It's just nestled underneath the trees out there, and a great area of Marion County, and we're just thrilled to death to be able to help out there. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
And you never know when you'll see a bear out there,
Yeah.
right?
We're still waiting.
Okay, so I have that for you to take
Well,
home
thank
with you.
All right.
And one also to display at the school. And thank you so much for partnering with East Marion. You are a special school and a special community, and now you've got a special business partner.
Right.
So thank you, everyone.
Mr. Vianello, please come forward to recognize a very special donation.
Good evening once again. As Dr. Mayor likes to say, this is a whole bunch of happy here. So I'm going to invite some of my friends up here. Mrs. Trapp, the assistant principal at MTI. Dale Toney is the teacher in the RAD program. And then we have Mr. Rob Adamak, who is the executive director of the Marion Regional Manufacturers Association. So I want to talk a little bit about Rob here for just a moment. You've heard me say, for the betterment of our community, we have to bridge the gap and have partnerships between education and business. There is no better example than the relationship and the partnership that we have with Mr. Ma and Mr. Adamak. Rob is the business advisory chair for our Logistics Advisory Council. He is working very hard to help us on the post-secondary level get a CDL truck driving program here to Marion. That's very important for us. He is also the chair of our Manufacturing Advisory Council as well, who had a very successful meeting last night. So Mr. Ma has been a supporter, a financial supporter, a supporter in supplies and resources and your attendance of the RAD program, and we know that we have to build that pipeline for manufacturers in our area. We went to Rob and we went to the association and we brainstormed with them a while back, how can we help build that pipeline? And in conjunction and partnership, we decided what we need to do is create a career choice academy and put it at Bellevue High School. And through the financial support of our referendum, through the financial support of Mr. Ma, we are going to have a very successful program at Bellevue High School. So ladies and gentlemen, I introduce to you with a great deal of pride, Mr. Rob Adamek.
Thank you. As Mark has said, we've worked with this program since its inception, both financially, advisory committees, guest speakers, and tours. And I'm very pleased with the progress that continues to happen over the years. It continues to get better in quality and in size, and I'm certainly excited about the plans to expand the program for this coming year over at Bellevue. We'll have a lot more room and be able to have a lot more students there. And one of the reasons the program does real well is the current instructor we have, Dale Toney. And he's very good at connecting with the students and connecting with businesses. And this program is very important. Our association serves manufacturing and logistics, and the number of new jobs that continually are being created, I mean, for this first half of the year, we're going to have at least 2,000 new jobs, plus our current businesses are expanding. And of course, we have to replace people retiring and so on. So programs like these are very important to us. And the great thing about them is the students that come out, manufacturing pays a better wage than most industries. They're higher skilled, higher paid jobs. And there's lots of opportunities within the business to be promoted up into very high paid jobs. There's a lot of high 5-figure and 6-figure jobs in manufacturing right here in our local community. I'd also like to thank Dr. Mayer. I've been around for 25 years, and I don't think I've ever seen a superintendent, and I cover 5 counties also, that has been so focused on CTE and preparing students for careers, not just jobs when they come out. And I'm certainly thankful that she put the best guy that I know of, in Mark Vianello, in charge of the CTE program. And I thank the board also, the support we've gotten over the years, and the foundation as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So we have a check this year. We've given a check for the last several years. I think we're up to around $100,000 this year. We have an $8,000 check for this program to help it continue to grow.
Thank you.
Yeah, I don't think that we can really thank Mr. Ma enough for the stuff that they do. Besides the money, you know, he mentioned all the other support that they have, and it's really a collaborative effort between us and CF. And I know you guys have heard this before, but the most of you have been, except for I think Ms. McCall, you haven't been over to the lab. You've been there during one of the Mr. Ma meetings and seen it in the last 3 or 4 years, and it's real tight when everybody's in there. And that's when I move stuff out. But when we go to Bellevue, it really is going to be bigger and better. And so when we have our next meeting over there, I'm very excited for you guys to get a chance to see what it's going to look like. We'll have more kids. We've got a lot more equipment coming in. It's going to be like a little mini college training center, similar to what they're doing at CF right now. So we're very excited about that. And it couldn't be done without your support, and definitely without Mark and Rob's stuff. So I'd like to thank them again. Thank you.
Any comment from the board? Mr. James?
I think we had a meeting over in Gainesville. Am I correct? We at the chamber. We were over there with the chamber. It's amazing how connected we are in reference to the counties that you serve. And as I was sitting there, and I know you were there, we were looking at ways in which we could improve the quality of the employees that we are trying to get. And I just want everybody to know that this is just not just a thing for Marion County, but it's several counties. And we have to prepare our kids to be able to compete. Because that was one of the things that I will say. We are doing things in Marion County, but their neighboring counties are also doing some things. So I want to thank you for being part of that group over there. And I know we got an invitation. Did you get an invitation just recently to attend something over there in reference to okay, so it is something that's connected. And board, I would encourage all of you to really know that we are connected with other counties when we look at this project right here. And I'm especially excited about the fact that we're looking at transportation, the big trucks, the big industry that's coming. I'm spending a lot of time over in Gaines, a lot more than I want to spend there. And I'm looking at what they're actually doing. And I know that we are beginning to compete with what they're doing over there. So I'm excited. Thank you again for all the students.
Ms. Stacy, did you have anything?
And I'd like to say thank you. Unlike many, I didn't come out of the education world when I ran for school board. I came out of the construction world and out of the business world. So our company was hiring the products of the school system. And so many things have happened that has changed the face of what comes out of the school system. And the vocational education programs are rescuing those children. They were left, the kids in the middle, and the majority are in the middle. The 50%, the majority were lost. And I can't thank Mark enough, and I can't thank you enough for rescuing those children so that the businesses of the future here in Marion County, like the one that I just retired our personal construction company from, will be able to benefit from what you guys are doing today, because that was a huge gap that needed to be filled, and thank you.
And I thank you. I think our CTE programs are going to be at the top. I think we're going to be talked about within just the next few years of a model. And thank you to business people like you who are so committed to our kids. And Mr. Tony, I have been in your classroom to observe you when you were for Teacher of the Year, and I did watch that lab. So that was a little classroom. So thank you for all you do, because you do have a great connection with our students. Thank you very much. Thank you.
I'd like to make one more comment in reference to some of the things you've said. I sit on the board of the State Manufacturing Association, and so I'm very connected what's happening throughout the state. And I don't know one other part of the state that is connected with the school system, and where the school system and the businesses are connected as well as what they are here. So I go around and I brag about what's happening in Marion County, and I brag about the soft skills initiative. You know, that came out of a meeting committee Dr. Mayer put together, the workforce planning committee, where we mentioned it was those soft skills, because that's one of the main things we hear from all businesses, that people would show up on time and are there every day they're supposed to be there. And I've been in meetings around the state, and they say, how are we going to teach? I said, Marion County's doing it right now. And they put that plan into action within 2 months of our conversation. So the school system has a lot to be proud of in that respect.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Ms. Kyra Shaft was to be our presenter to introduce us to our clinical education training program, but she has the flu. So she is home, and so Dr. Jonathan Grantham is going to share that training program with us.
Good evening, Madam Chair, Madam Vice Chair, board members, Mr. Gibbs, and Superintendent. I am not Kira Shafty, and Mark is not Logan Johnson. This is Jasmine Toledo. Mark, come on up. There's a very specific presentation we're going to let Kira and Logan present for you. We're going to go, Kevin, if you'll go to the last slide. We're going to go back one more. Right there. We're going to talk about what we're doing as a district to recruit and retain teachers. You've recently heard, and you've heard for a while, there's a shortage of teachers in our state and in our nation. So we're going to talk about what we're specifically doing with CTE and Mark. We had some, Mark's thinking outside the box. But we are in conversations with a major university, a public university in Florida, about bringing a cohort to Marion County where they bring professors and we raise our own to become teachers. And they stay here. We have a partnership right now that they will be in charge of elementary teachers, ESE teachers, and a STEAM initiative. We've talked to CF, we talked to President Henningsen, and he is on board because they do not offer the program, so there's no conflict of interest with CF. So we're working with the university of bringing professors to our district to train our folks in a cohort how to be teachers. We have been to UWF, FSU, FAMU, University of Florida, and University of South Florida to their College of Ed program. We're actively recruiting teachers. We're going to make relationships with them to recruit teachers to come here. This is where Mark kind of hops in the middle. We have a teacher academy, a high school teacher academy in Jacksonville that we're going to visit. And Miss Diane Leinenbach, the principal of Oakcrest, is going to go to look at the academy to see if that's something that we can offer here, something that we can do here. Our superintendent has made it known to us that we are actively recruiting, and she went last year to meet with Mr. Ulysses Gilbert, and he has charged a Florida Fund for minority teachers, and she's the only superintendent that attended, and she's going to attend annually as we recruit minority educators to come here. So Mark is doing some things with Vanguard. You want to talk about that a little bit more?
Sure. Dr. Grantham, you already mentioned several, you alluded to the program, and we talked about Career Choice Academies with the RAD program in manufacturing. We have 43,000 students in our school district. We have to recruit our own students. If we don't sell the values and benefits of being an educator when we have these students here, then who will? So we are creating and starting a new Career Choice Academy at Vanguard High School in August. It is the Future Educator program. And like Dr. Grantham said, we are partnering not only with CF, but also a major university. Our students will have the opportunity to come out with an AA degree in high school and then stay here locally and get a bachelor's degree in either ESE or elementary education. And then 2 years out of high school, we as a community or as a school system can offer them a job and grow our own right here and have help build that teacher workforce. So we're really excited about that. We have some upcoming nights. In March 1st, our CTE informational night, where we're going to promote all of our Career Choice Academies, and right there at the top of the list will be our Future Education program.
And the conversation we had with the universities about putting our students, our interns, in the bottom 300 schools and the top schools, so they have that experience, so they're accustomed to that, so they're used to that, so they're trained in a school. We're trying to get our best graduates from the colleges. So we're putting them in those schools to understand what it's like to teach in a lower performing school. Mark, anything else? Any questions or?
Bravo. That's great. Thanks.
Thank you.
May I have a motion to adopt a proclamation proclaiming the month of February to be Career and Technical Education Month?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Ms. King, seconded by Mr. James. Is there any discussion by the board? If not, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion passed 5-0. Mr. Kevin Christian, Public Information Officer and TV and Media Production Coordinator, and Mr. Mark Villanello, Executive Director, Career and Technical Education. Please come forward for the reading and presentation of the proclamation.
It's the Mark Villanello show, I believe.
Yes, it is.
This proclamation reads, whereas February 1st through 28th, 2018 has been designated Career and Technical Education Month by the Association for Career and Technical Education, whereas Career and Technical Education offers students the opportunity to gain the academic, technical, and employability skills necessary for true career readiness, whereas students in career and technical education programs participate in authentic, meaningful experiences that improve the quality of their education and increase student engagement and achievement, Whereas career and technical education provides students with career exploration opportunities earlier in their educational experience, which enables them to make informed and beneficial decisions about their academic coursework as well as pursuit of established programs of study and career pathways. Whereas leaders from business and industry nationwide report increasing challenges related to the skills gap and connecting qualified professionals with available careers in critical and growing CTE-related fields, including healthcare, agribusiness, public service, energy, advanced manufacturing, and information technology. Whereas career and technical education prepares students for these and other fulfilling careers by offering integrated programs of study, linking secondary and post-secondary education and leading to the attainment of industry-recognized credentials. And whereas ensuring employers have access to a qualified workforce is a crucial step to ensure productivity among the business and industry communities, as well as continued American economic growth and global competitiveness. Now therefore be it proclaimed, the School Board of Marion County, Florida, proclaims the month of February to be Career and Technical Education Month, and urge all citizens to become familiar with the services and benefits offered by the career and technical education programs in this community, and to support, participate in, and encourage the further development of these programs to enhance student engagement and learning, further student educational pursuits, and prepare students for productive living. Each of you has signed it and dated it this evening. So, Mr. V, on behalf of the board and the superintendent, let me present that to you.
Thank you, Dr. Mayor and board, for all of your support. It's much appreciated.
Mr. Vianella.
Let me kick in
Mr.
right.
James?
Mark, this is geared toward you, but it's not really. And you'll find out what I'm saying. I know we have a diverse group in here tonight, and I just want to say what's on my mind. As I look at what we're doing in the vocational and technical department, guys, we do not have enough minorities in these programs. And let me just share this with you. They need to get in these programs at a younger age. When I look at the HOSA and I look at all these programs that we have in our schools, it's important that if we are to encourage our young people, they need to be getting into this program, in these programs. And let me tell you why. My wife has been at Shands for almost 3 months now. We going in there, and I've had 2 minority nurses that came in there to work on these. And that's an indication to me that our kids are not getting into these programs. The technical programs that we offer, we are offering a tremendous future in Marion County. But if we do not look at our youngsters and encourage them to get in these classes while they're in high school, or start looking, well, actually they need to start getting in middle school, and they need to start looking at these things right now. And I'm saying this to you because I have a captive audience. And I've been wanting to say this for a long time in terms of getting these kids involved. You saw it. These guys are real. The programs that we are talking about is real, and the growth in Marion County is real. And if we do not take advantage of what we're offering here, then we're losing out. We're losing out on the high-paying job, because I'm seeing it firsthand, and I'm seeing the fact that we are not getting our kids involved in these programs while they're in the middle school and elementary schools, because I will tell you right now, Florida is the retirement capital of the world. And when you have that many people retiring, you're going to have that many sick people. When I look at all the things that are coming out, a Nike plant is coming up over in Gainesville over there, and all of these things. Guys, I'm looking at jobs that pay a good salary. And if you are looking at a mission in education, I will encourage the audience out here to encourage your kids, whether it's Hispanic, Black, whatever. They need to look at these vocational programs and get into them in high school. We talk about the advanced programs, the AP, the honors classes, and we do not have enough minorities in there. We do not have enough minorities in these vocational programs. Am I missing a point, Mark? You can tell me.
No, Mr. James, I'd like to that point, I would like to let our audience here and at home know as well that on March 1st, we are having a career choice informational night. We will send letters to every 8th grade, 9th grade, and 10th grade students in this district. Like says you can't be what you can't see. We have wonderful choice options, but if our students and their parents don't understand the options in front of them, they're going to miss opportunities. So I'm going to encourage everyone to come out on March 1st. It's at Marion Technical Institute. We'll have our 5 career choice program academies there. We'll have our 9 MTI options there. And have our students take a look at what we offer, because like you said, we're offering some quality programs. There's no doubt about that.
What grade levels are we talking about? So everybody will know.
This is, well, this will be for, March 1st is specifically for next year's high school class. So we're going to send letters to this year's 8th grade, because they'll be next year's 9th graders. So 8th, 9th, and 10th graders, which will be next year's 9th, 10th, and 11th grade, is who we're specifically targeting on for March 1st.
Okay. I just wanted to make you guys aware of there's some good things happening. We need to take advantage of this train that's leaving. We need to get on board. Thank you, Mark.
Thank you. May I have a motion to adopt a proclamation proclaiming the month of February as Black History Month? Moved by Ms. Boynton.
Second.
Seconded by Mr. James. Mr. Kevin Christian. Oh, I'm sorry. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion passed 5-0. Mr. Kevin Christian and Mr. Brendan Mitchell, President of the NAACP, please come forward for the reading and presentation of the proclamation.
This proclamation reads, whereas Black History Month shares the historical and present contributions of African Americans, whereas Black History Month began as Negro History Week in February 1926 in the United States as a supplement to the school curriculum through the work of African American scholar Dr. Carter G. Woodson. His aim was to encourage a greater awareness and understanding of the African experience and contributions in America, Africa, and throughout the world. Whereas later in the 1960s, the week expanded into Black History Month to commemorate a more balanced and accurate picture of Black history, and is celebrated during the entire month of February as it coincides with the birthdays of Frederick Douglass on February 15th and Abraham Lincoln on February 12th. Whereas throughout Black History Month, we celebrate the many contributions African Americans have made to our nation, and we are reminded of their courage and struggle to change the hearts and minds of our citizens. While much progress has been made, we must continue to work together to achieve the promise and vision of our great nation. And whereas the School Board of Marion County, Florida, recognizing its own diversity and that of its employed workforce and entire student body, will continue to honor Black History Month to enhance equity and diversity. Now, therefore, the School Board of Marion County, Florida, proclaims February as Black History Month, and each of you has signed and dated it accordingly this evening. So, Mr. Mitchell.
Would you like to say anything, sir? Go ahead.
Madam Chair, Vice Chair, Board members, and Ms. Superintendent, I'd like to thank you on behalf of the Marion County branch for awarding us this proclamation, and just keep up the good work with having Black History Month here in Marion County. Thank you.
I will now ask the school board's attorney to explain the rules governing persons who wish to address the school board tonight.
Good evening. In compliance with Section 286.0114 of Florida statutes, the school board has adopted uniform procedures for public speakers who wish to speak at tonight's meeting, either regarding one of tonight's agenda items or a matter relating to the operations of the school district. These procedures will ensure the public has a reasonable opportunity to be heard on school, board, and school district matters. A written summary of these procedures is available from the table in the hallway. Public speaker forms are also located on the same table. The completed forms were due to the school board's assistant no later than 5:40 p.m. Tonight's speakers will be called prior to the business portion of the school board's meeting in the order of receipt by the school board's assistant. Before you begin speaking, please state your full name and address for the record and spell your last name. Each speaker will have 5 minutes of time. However, if there are more than 5 persons who wish to speak, the board may seek consensus to limit each speaker's time to 3 minutes. When the speaker has 1 minute remaining, the speaker will receive a visual notice to complete his or her comments. Speakers may not yield their time to other people. Speakers and meeting attendees are expected to conduct themselves in a respectful manner. Therefore, verbal attacks and profanity are strictly prohibited. If there are matters dealing with student discipline, including expulsions, they will be scheduled at the conclusion of the televised portion of this meeting. Parents may address the board regarding a discipline matter at that time. To ensure student privacy, only a parent or guardian may use a student's first or last name. Identifying references to or identification of other students and/or their families are also strictly prohibited. Thank you for your attention to the board's requirements.
Our first speaker, please.
Jeff Gold.
Good evening, board members. It's kind of different for me standing back this side, but I'm glad to be here tonight. Tonight I'm here as a citizen, a taxpayer, and a parent of 2 children in Marion County Public Schools. You have hard decisions tonight. I feel for you. It's a very difficult decision you need to make, and that's the one with Evergreen Elementary School. One of the things with this is these aren't new issues. We all know that. But many of the decisions that you're going to make tonight are going to be decisions that could potentially last for a long time. In November, you've got an ad valorem tax vote coming up, correct? Am I correct? I know you don't have to answer, but you've got the ad valorem tax coming up on that. And the voters are going to look how you've handled things throughout, the same as they look at any elected official. And one of the things they're going to look is, how you ran the board, those who are up for re-election, how you've spent your money. And it's going to be difficult because one of the options that you have with your decision tonight could potentially cost a lot of money, which isn't really the issue when we talk about children, or never wants to be the issue when you talk about money. But one of the big things is with Evergreen is you could potentially lose some of your control over the actions of that school by hiring this private company. And the school board needs to have the control over it because that's what you're there for. You're the professionals. You're the ones that we elected in Marion County, and you're the ones that we put there. And a loss of control is something that's very hard. I know experience that a lot of times when we bring in a private contractor or we bring in private companies to come in and do the work that we've had our own people doing, that you don't have the say that you had before. And that's one of the things that's very hard to do because you want to be able to control it and you want to be able to make the hard decisions for this board. Additionally, you got to remember too is when you have a private company coming in, it's a for-profit. Now, when you submit your RFP and you get back the bids, on the bottom of it, is it going to say, I want to do what's best for the children of Marion County, Florida? It's going to give you a price, and it's going to tell you how much they need. They're not going to come in there and do this at a loss. They're going to want to make money on this. And that's one of the things you got. It's not always in the best interest of the children of Marion County. I know this is hard. I know you've got the decisions. You've got people here that are very impassioned about their children. Children are resilient. I remember when my daughters had to change from Maplewood to Weirsdale, and they thought it was the worst thing in their life. And it is. It's hard for that elementary school because those who have been elementary school teachers, you know the bond that it comes to them. You always remember your teacher. Coach James, you were my high school coach. I'm sure you don't remember that, but I remember seeing you later, and it was like meeting a celebrity after I met you later on in life. I was like, wow, that's Coach James. I still am in awe when I'm around you because you were one of the fairest people I ever met in high school because you had to correct me a few times on some things. So you do have some rough decisions to make here. But in the end, don't do anything, please don't do anything that may risk your ad valorem tax or have the voters look wrong at this, because the ones who are going to suffer if you don't get this are going to be the less economically fortunate children that we have in this community. It's going to be them because we have a lot of money that comes in there. Just, it's a very hard decision, and I feel for you. And this is very nerve-wracking to stand in front of a board. So, but I appreciate all y'all are doing. Thank you very much. And I'll give 2 more seats.
Thank you. Next.
Sandra Trusso.
Thank you. Sandra Trusso, Trusso, 2845 Northeast 31st Place, Ocala, Florida, 34479. Due to last year's passage of a state law which mandates that schools which are below a C rating must adhere to one of 3 choices, we've seen that one of those choices presents the dilemma over whether or not to close Evergreen School. Due to the fact that Evergreen has been a D or F school for 5 years, Superintendent Heidi Mayer recommended to close the school despite the fact that under her leadership last year, the school improved by 9 percentage points, which only brought Evergreen up to a D. Dr. Mayer and her team felt that 1 year is not enough for Evergreen to pull it to a C. Since for 5 years Evergreen has been a D or F school, unless people simply weren't paying attention for those 5 years, Dr. Meyer's recommendation to close the school and move students into other schools couldn't possibly have come as a surprise to parents or teachers. For several years, Marion County schools have been rated very low in the state of Florida. But since Dr. Mayer was elected as superintendent, we are finally seeing quite a number of positive changes to benefit all Marion County students. On a recent video where Dr. Mayer was speaking with the Evergreen parents, someone shouted from the back of the room, "You only care about what you want, not what we want." Well, with the exception of the last year's 9 percentage point improvement under Dr. Mayer's leadership, no other changes seem to have improved the Evergreen situation. So the question is, what is it that parents want? I'm sure it is to have the children actually receive the education to which they're entitled, where the children actually learn what's necessary to assure their success in the outside world. Obviously, this is what Dr. Mayer's choice was intended to do. A second choice was for our district to lose control of Evergreen by turning it over to an external operator of what is deemed to be proved effectiveness. However, in today's world of ever-changing definitions, the question here is, effective at what? Because nationally, even top-ranking effective schools do not display high-quality education. We realize that some students excel under any conditions, but most don't. Nationally, among students who have passed through these effective schools into college, has no one noticed that we've seen some who think that ISIS is a new kind of food? That many can't read our founding documents because they can't read or write cursive? Many don't know anything about government or history. Many exhibit really poor grammar and vocabulary. Now, these are college students who surely have come through effective schools, showing that top ratings don't equal necessarily high-quality education. So merely being effective by today's standards is not necessarily a plus. In fact, it seems apparent that the term effective isn't analogous to actual learning or high-quality education. Dr. James has rightfully acknowledged that for Evergreen, changes must be made. However, changes are in the process of being made. You've heard some of those today, coming in the form of Superintendent Mayer, who is in the process of following through with these changes. Dr. Mayer has visibly and actively shown her concern for students in making some excellent and some extremely promising changes for the success of all Marion County students. Therefore, in my opinion, common sense dictates that the educational success of children through Dr. Mayer's recommendations is the more preferable choice for Evergreen rather than just jumping into one more so-called effective educational gamble. Thank you.
Next speaker, please.
Tanya Spates.
Good evening. Tanya Spates, 15119 Southwest 29th Avenue Road, Ocala, Florida, 34473. My last name is spelled S-P-E-I-G-H-T-S. I'm with the Marion County NAACP, Branch Unit 1, Unit 5114, and I would like to read a statement regarding Evergreen. The Marion County branch of the NAACP reaffirms its concerns regarding the educational practices at Evergreen Elementary. We strongly believe that the school may have achieved a grade of C for the 2017-18 school year if decisions that increase failure had not been made. We strongly believe that the decision to remove experienced, effective teachers from classrooms and then replace them with substitutes negatively impacted the academic environment, as relationships are key to turning around academic performance and attitudes. We strongly believe that a no homework policy at a failing school did not provide these students with the additional enrichment needed to positively impact their scores this spring. We strongly believe that the decision to allow teachers to choose placements rather than placing the most highly qualified, effective, and experienced teachers at Evergreen denied these students the opportunity to experience and be taught by the best. And we strongly believe that the public disclosure to close the school prior to testing may have a devastating psychological impact on these students, as it has planted the seed that we know that you are going to fail. Despite the positive gains of only being 4 points from earning a grade of C last year, these are just a few of the concerns that are driving our campaign to keep Evergreen open. We believe these students deserve an opportunity to prove their capabilities. They deserve the right to an academic community-centered curriculum with experienced, highly effective teachers to achieve academic success. We recognize that House Bill 7069 has tied the district's hands, and to ensure that the children do not experience any further psychological impact, we support a plan to hire an external operator who has a proven track record of working with high poverty, low-performing students, which are comparable to the demographics of Evergreen. The external operator can be utilized to help improve the scores of the students. This decision will also boost the likelihood of successful student phasing in the near future when the district implements a new rezoning plan over the next couple of years. This evening, we encourage you to vote to put kids first and give kids at Evergreen a fighting chance by choosing the external operator option. We also encourage you to join other school districts in filing a lawsuit against House Bill 7069 to take our schools back and out of the hands of politicians who write laws without the input of our schools or our school boards. The NAACP offers its assistance, and we will be ensuring the continuous engagement of our community in assisting all students and their families in Marion County. Thank you.
Next speaker.
Narvella Haynes.
Good evening, President McCall, board members, and Superintendent Mayor. Good evening. I'm Narvella Haynes, 2916 Northwest 3rd Terrace, Ocala, Florida. Haynes, Haynes. There's been so much negative publicity about Evergreen that I would like to share some positive facts. The I-Ready assessment for 2017-18. The first assessment was taken in September after the storm with substitute teachers. 125 third graders. Below grade level, 42. Shown improvement, 25%. On grade level, 30%. The second assessment taken in January, 35%. Below, 15 shown improvement. 44% on grade level. Fourth graders, 113, 37%, and on the first testing was below. Shown improvement was 35%. On grade level, 20%. On this, and I'm sorry, these are in the reading area. 32% was below on the second assessment. 36% shown improvement. On grade level, 28%. Fifth graders, on the first testing was 57% low, 21% improvement, 17% on grade level. On the reading, 51% was below grade level, 23% shown improvement, 25% on grade level. For the math, 125 third graders, 43% was below, 37% shown in improvement. On grade level, 14%. Grade level, on the second assessment, grade level was 31% below, shown improvement, 34%. On grade level, 21%. Fourth graders, 113 students. On the first testing, 44% below, 28% had shown improvement, 19% on grade level. On the second testing, 33% below grade level, 36% showed improvement, 27% on grade level. Fifth graders, with 75 students, 49% was on below grade level in September, 29% shown improvement, 17% was on grade level. On the second testing in January, 33% was below, 40% improved, 23% on grade level. I would also like to share some other results with you. In October, 541 outstanding awards were presented to students at Evergreen. In January, 589 outstanding awards were presented. The total awards presented: Kiwanis, 61 students, K through 5 grades, Citizenships Award, 458, Math, 56 awards, Reading, 66 awards, Writing, 72 awards, Social Studies, 49 awards, Science, 51 awards, grades 3 through 5 A Honor Roll, 46 students, 3 through 5 AB Honor Roll, 110 students, 1 and 2 All E Honor Roll, 72, 1 and 2 E and S grades Honor Roll, 89. If this not showing improvement, I don't know what is. Hopefully, Evergreen issue is an awakening to Marion County and others. As a taxpayer, mother, grandmother, and grandmother of twin boys at Evergreen Elementary, an activist and and the site chair, I pray that after tonight we can drop the animosity and hostility and put children first. When drastic decisions have to be made and stakeholders are not in the process, and as a community, we can work it out without being said it was my decision and because we don't see the kids being able to meet the challenges. I think the statistics and some of the facts I stated before tells me I think it can be done. If they can come from an F to a D and high D at that in 1 year, if they would have had certified teachers instead of substitutes and the proper assistance, there is no doubt in my mind we have risen to a C or above. Please allow the external auditor to come in, and hopefully this will put an end to the problems Evergreen has been facing through the years. In closing, I am pleading with each of you and the community to drop our emotions and put our children first. And when I say our children, I'm colorblind and I see all children. Thank you.
Next speaker. No more. There are no more. May I have a motion to adopt the January 23rd, 2018 revised resolution 18.018-01 on the 1 mil ad valorem tax? So moved by Angie Boynton.
Second.
Seconded by Bobby James. Is there any discussion? Mr. Christian, please come forward and read the resolution.
It is rather lengthy, so bear with me just a moment. This is resolution number 18-01. A resolution directing the Board of County Commissioners of Marion County, Florida, to place a measure on the ballot for the August 28th, 2018 primary election for the electors within the school district to vote on the approval to continue a 1 mil ad valorem tax for 4 years pursuant to Section 1011.73 subsection 2 Florida statutes as of 2017. The resolution reads, whereas Section 1011.73 subsection 2 Florida statutes as of 2017 authorizes the School Board of Marion County, Florida, pursuant to a resolution adopted at a regular meeting to direct the Board of County Commissioners of Marion County, Florida, to call an election at which the electors within the school district may approve an ad valorem tax millage as authorized under Section 1011.71 subsection 9 Florida statutes of 2017, whereas that same subsection authorizes a school district to levy by local referendum additional millage for school operating purposes, and operating is underscored, up to an amount that, when combined with the non-voted millage levied, does not exceed the 10 mil limit established in subsection 9B, Article 7 of the state constitution. Whereas the additional 1 mil ad valorem tax approved by referendum in 2014 for necessary operating expenses expires June 30th, 2019. Whereas the school board has determined that it is in the best interest of the school district to submit to the voters the question of approving the continuation of the 1 mil ad valorem tax for 4 years for necessary operating expenses, and again, operating is underscored. Now therefore be it resolved by the School Board of Marion County, Florida, in regular session duly assembled this 23rd day of January 2018, that the Board of County Commissioners of Marion County, Florida is hereby directed to call an election in conjunction with the primary election on August 28th, 2018, at which the electors within the school district may vote on the continuation of a 1 mil ad valorem tax for 4 years as authorized under Section 1011.71 subsection 9 Florida statutes as of 2017, and the substance of the measure and the ballot title shall be as follows. The ballot title would be Approval of Continuing 1 mil ad valorem tax for school district operating expenses. And the actual ballot question, which I believe would be the ballot language, would read, shall the Marion County School District's 1 mil ad valorem millage be continued beginning July 1st, 2019 and ending June 30th, 2023 for necessary operating expenses including reading, physical education, art, music, library media, and vocational programs, meeting class size requirements, and retaining state-certified teachers and paraprofessionals with oversight of these expenditures by an independent Citizens Financial Oversight Committee. The options are yes and no.
Is there further discussion, Board? I just want the community to know that we weighed this very heavily on whether to put this initiative, this referendum, on the general election ballot in November or on the primary ballot. Mr. Wilcox was at our work session on Thursday of last week and talked to us about how long the ballot would be with all of the constitutional amendments. Because of the Constitutional Revision Committee, there could be a minimum of 13 to 14. This ballot could be a 3- or 4-page ballot. The referendum will go underneath all of those constitutional amendments. Oftentimes, ballot fatigue happens where voters get tired of the ballot and they either don't complete it or they vote no on everything. We felt like we could work very, very hard and get more people out to the primary this year, and we felt that was the best place to place our referendum. If anyone has any questions, you can certainly contact me. No other discussion. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion passed 5-1. May I have a motion to adopt the January 23rd, 2018 revised resolution 18-02 on appointed superintendent?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Mrs. King, seconded by Mr. James. Is there any discussion on this? Mr. Christian, would you please read?
Resolution number 18-02. A resolution requesting that the Board of County Commissioners of Marion County, Florida place a proposition on the ballot for the November 6th, 2018 general election for the electors within the school district to vote on whether the superintendent of schools should be appointed and employed by the School Board of Marion County, Florida, as authorized by the Florida Constitution. It reads, whereas Section 5, Article 9 of the Florida Constitution provides that in each school district there should be a superintendent of schools who shall be elected in the general election for a term of 4 years, or, when provided by vote of the electors, the district school superintendent in any school district shall be employed by the district board as provided by general law. Whereas pursuant to the provisions of Section 5, Article 9 of the Florida Constitution, Section 1001.461, Florida statutes provides that in order to submit the proposition to the electors at a general election or a statewide primary or special election, the school board shall request an election by formal resolution, and the Board of County Commissioners of Marion County, Florida, upon request, shall cause the proposition to be placed on the ballot. And whereas the School Board of Marion County, Florida believes that the electors of Marion County, Florida should be asked to determine whether the office of Superintendent of Schools for Marion County, Florida should be appointed and employed by the school board as authorized by the Florida Constitution. Now therefore be it resolved as follows, that the School Board of Marion County, Florida in regular session duly assembled this 23rd day of January 2018 hereby requests that the Board of County Commissioners of Marion County, Florida, call an election in conjunction with the general election of November 6th, 2018, at which the electors within the school district may vote on whether the superintendent of schools for Marion County, Florida, should be appointed and employed by the School Board of Marion County, Florida, as authorized by the Florida Constitution, and the substance of the measure and the ballot title shall be as follows. The ballot title would be Referendum on Appointed Superintendent, and the ballot question or language would read, should the office of Superintendent of Schools of the School Board of Marion County, Florida be appointed and employed by the School Board of Marion County, Florida as authorized by the Florida Constitution? The two choices are yes and no.
Further discussion?
I do. Every day I look at this, I have an idea, and I don't know if we want to, but let's a discussion for me. Because we have, I always, every month, every year, we have to look at our funds for the money that we have. So as I was looking, I thought, if we were going to have a question on this ballot, should we say we can cap the salary the same as an election? No, you don't think so? No, just why? I just wanted to do this, tell me why.
We'll talk through it. Because this is an a search committee will come in and bring in someone. And this will be a person that is highly skilled and highly trained. This will not be a principal that's been turned superintendent. This won't be someone that, doesn't have a lot of experience. We hope that the search committee will help us find the perfect person. And if we have to pay even $100,000 more for a superintendent, but we don't pay $4 million a year for failing schools, that is a big bonus for us in profit made with an appointed superintendent.
Mr. James?
Thank you.
I've been on this board for about 11 years now, and I've seen several boards come and go. And I think the school district at this time has reached this point in their growth. If you were looking at what we're doing tonight in reference to the school board in terms of all the things that we're doing, and we look at the state and look at what other school districts are doing as well, we have to move into this era where we are part of what is occurring in this country. I think appointed superintendent has reached the point where it could be real in Marion County, where we need to look not only inside the county, but throughout the nation. Because if you look at the transportation issue and look at the technology and the vocational programs, we are competing all across this country. And we have reached this point. I said when I first got in, and people have always asked, was I in favor of an appointed superintendent? I said no. And the reason that I didn't want an appointed superintendent at that time, I didn't think we had reached there as a school district. I think we have reached this point as a school district. I look at what we're doing, I look at what we need to do, and I will say to the people that's listening to me, believe me when I say we have reached the point where we need to hire an appointed superintendent. Look at the counties that surround us. Look at the high-performing counties. Look at all of them. When I say the school board can appoint or select an individual that meet our criteria, and I know that we have reached this point, and for us to hold it back and say we don't want to do this, that's sad. When I look at what we are asked to do tonight, I do know, as part of the school board and this, when I say this, I've been around for about 47 years in this thing, and I'm telling you, we have reached the point where we need to put it out there, and I think the people of Marion County need to select the option of an appointed superintendent because it's time.
About the capping their salary, I'm not in favor in that because that would be a final decision, and we're just here, right here, right now, and in the future, we don't know what the future school board will hold. I have always been in favor of an appointed superintendent. My main reason is for a few different reasons. Your pool is larger, we can do nationwide, but also I feel there is no room for politics in schools and the classrooms. And whenever it's election season, I believe that the superintendent should still be just focused on our schools and not worried, about campaigning's tough and politics are involved. And again, I'm just going to repeat, there's no room for politics with our children.
Ms. Stacy, one more thing, please.
Yes, and I would like to dovetail off of that and say that I did ask the county commissioners how they would feel if they had to work under an elected county administrator, or if the hospital board had to work under an elected hospital administrator. And the different ones couldn't even imagine being in the situation that the school board finds itself in. If our district is failing, or we're having issues, or we're having trust issues with a superintendent, the community has to wait for 4 years as the district plummets academically, and we have to sit there as a board and watch that happen, where we could put a stop to it in one meeting. And instead, we have to wait 4 years for the next election for the people to hopefully see that our district has plummeted, as we have done in the past. We are the largest district in the we're the second largest district in the United States currently operating under an appointed superintendent. Elected superintendent. And I believe it does work in small districts where you have a real handle on, you got 4 or 5 schools, not 50, where the community's very involved, where you don't really have a lot of big, heavy decisions to make. You don't have really large programs like we have. You don't have, a lot of college dual enrollments. You don't have all the many things going on, and you're not spread out. But in a district as large as ours that's spread out like this, there's just no way the activist families can keep a handle on the school system, because things are going on over here and in our district. Isn't it the size of Rhode Island, they say, or something, some state? So anyway, I do think it's time. I will say that I have not agreed with that position in the past because I didn't think our district was large enough. I didn't believe that we were large enough. I felt like we could handle it, but now with the villages, part of Marion County and State Road 200, the people aren't even in tune with what's happening in our schools. And it's whichever political PAC group sends out a flyer, they can say whatever they want out into those corridors, and the people don't know whether it's true because our district's too large for them to be in touch with our schools, and they'll vote based upon that flyer. And 50% of the politics could be removed from our school system. Every single time we have an elected superintendent, we have apple turnover here. People lose their jobs, careers are ended. It just keeps us in complete instability. And I'd like to see a stable school system where the employees feel secure and stable in their jobs, and they don't have to worry every 4 years if there's going to be another apple turnover and their career will go down the tube again. Thank you.
Just one more thing.
Okay, Ms. Boynton, one more thing.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for all of you for giving that information to me. I always believed in an elected superintendent, but for all the information you've given to me, and I believe we have gone up right now. We need to so I'm gonna vote with this. So thank you for that information, Mr. James. And I really
Salaries is negotiated.
Yeah, thank you. It's just to vote for this.
I've always been a proponent of an appointed superintendent. Coming from a district with an appointed superintendent, I believe very strongly that we should search for the top CEO in the country. We have a very large school system now. My concern, and the board knows this, is that probably there will be a constitutional amendment that it will be a statewide mandate for appointed superintendents. I think that there might be some confusion. I am going to vote for it tonight, but I think if we put it on the ballot and the constitutional amendments on the ballot, there could be some confusion. But I will support it. So, with no more discussion, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
It's unanimous. Good deal.
Motion passed 5-0. May I have a motion to approve consent agenda items C10.1-C23.1 as submitted?
So moved.
Moved by Mrs. King.
Second.
Seconded by Mr. James. Is there any discussion? If no discussion, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion passed 5-0. May I have a motion to approve the agreement for goods and services with the United Way of Marion County, Inc., and the data sharing agreement with the United Way of Marion County, Inc., and the Early Childhood Initiative, Inc.? Moved by Ms. Boynton, seconded by Mr. James. Superintendent Mayor, you wish to provide a presentation on this?
Yes, we're going to have Ms. Gerlach and Ms. Lucas come on up to do the presentation, and in the audience we have Ms. Beard and Ms. Hathaway from the United Way who can also answer questions if you have them. So.
Good evening, Madam Chair, Vice Chair, board members, Superintendent, and it's an absolute pleasure to be before you this evening to discuss the wonderful Reading Pals program. In regards to that, I would also like to introduce Ms. Sarah Lucas, who will be my co-presenter tonight, to discuss the great benefits and great partnership in which we already have with our friends at United Way, which I would also like to publicly acknowledge our friends who are here with us in the audience tonight on behalf of United Way. So I have Jan and Faith, if y'all wouldn't mind waving. So with that in mind, we will look at this. So I'm going to pass it off to Sarah, who's going to discuss the actual program intricacies and actually what Reading Pals does.
Good evening. So some of us are more familiar with Reading Pals than others, but to give a brief overview, it's a very valued program here in our community. We have nearly 200 volunteers every year that work with our kindergarten classrooms. And this began back in 2012 when the United Way of Marion County was awarded a grant, and that was specifically for an early literacy program. United Way reached out to Marion County Public Schools, and through our discussions, we ended up offering help with struggling readers in our kindergarten classroom. So one high needs kindergarten class in a school received Reading Pal volunteers. To show you a list of those schools that have been participating, many have been with Reading Pal since 2012. Recently, we have had SPAR and Wyomina join that list. SPAR had a very large community of volunteers willing to go into that school, which was very exciting. And then Wyomina, in their high needs situation, we also advocated as a district to have volunteers join Wyomina as well. So just looking at some photographs of what this looks like. Again, we have over 200 volunteers on average every year, and two notable volunteers with Reading Pals, our current board member, Kelly King, as well as previous board member, Carol Ely. And these volunteers span a wide age group, mostly retirees at this point, but we have had volunteers in our trainings probably high school age. Oh, 12, okay, there we go. We have as young as middle school, so that's very exciting as well. So the program mission is to help build background knowledge and vocabulary, two critical skills as these readers move from emergent kindergarten readers on through the development in their reading. And so they work one-on-one with these volunteers. The students work one-on-one, and the goal every week is to read a brand new story and to journal about that story with their Reading Pal. So not only are they continuing to build background knowledge and vocabulary, but they're also journaling and able to show off writing skills that they're learning with their teacher and having a place to apply that about a favorite part of the story. And at the end of the year, that journal goes home to be with the parents. So it's kind of a memento for that year with their pal, which they become very attached to as the year goes on. So volunteers are trained every year. Even if they're a veteran, they do go through a training, and that training is with Ms. Hathaway and myself, and we discuss best practices and working with the children, and then, of course, the nuts and bolts of being a part of a volunteer, which includes a background check, and that is done with volunteer recruitment being heavy as well, with Ms. Suzanne McGuire, who is our Director of Family, School, and Community Engagement, so she's a big part of that as well. So fast forward to December 7th, 2017, after about 6 years with the program, and I'm going to hand back the clicker to Ms. Gerlach.
So with that in mind, first and foremost, we always advocate for our students' well-being and safety. So although this had been in a wonderful partnership, part of that is United Way has a grant backing. They have a third-party entity that gives them funding because, as Ms. Lucas alluded to, they receive those wonderful books. And they not only receive the books, but they get to keep the books and build their personal library. So with that in mind, there's obviously fiscal cost associated with that. So with that, we ended up looking at the agreement, and part of that is that they request information on the students we're serving within the program. So with that, 5 years in the program's history, there had always just been a data sharing piece that we were giving information about to this entity about our students who was in the program, not just only who was participating, but also non-participants. So once again, when we looked at this, the superintendent said, no, our first and foremost priority is our safety of our students. So in partnership with our legal department, working with United Way, we said, we love this program, we want to continue with the program, but we need to do business a little differently. So with that in mind, we continued to look at this and said, what would be a good pathway for us to continue forward, but also to ensure that we can still require that grant funding that we so desperately need to make sure that the program continues in its success, but what would that look like? So historically, like I said, for participants and non-participants, we would give out their name, their birthday, their sex, their race, and test scores, how they were performing on those kindergarten assessments. Our recommendation, in conjunction with our legal department, we have decided that with this, we are going to only release their name, the age, test score, and this would all be done with consent from the parent. So they actually would sign this. They would have full knowledge of this is what we are requesting. Are we allowed to do this? Obviously, if somebody did not want to do that, we would never share that information because of FERPA laws. So with that, why we are here tonight is we are requesting that we can enter into this agreement so that we can safely share the data so that we can continue to work and secure this partnership for years to come. So with that in mind, any questions for us?
Board, are there any questions? No? All right.
Thank you so much for your time.
Welcome.
Thank you.
No discussion. All those in favor,
Okay.
please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. I do have a comment when we're done. I didn't have a question.
She has a comment.
I have a comment more so than a question.
Motion passed 5-0. Before your comment, Ms. King, Ms. Hathaway, I'm a Tech Stock and Children mentor, but my young lady is a senior this year and graduates, so you'll have me next year as a reading pal.
All right.
Ms. King.
I was just going to say that Miss Hathaway does a fantastic job with this program. She does an excellent job of preparing her volunteers to go into these schools, and I can tell you nothing is more rewarding than meeting with that kindergartner. I can only go once a week because of time constraints, once or twice a week. That is a highlight. So if there's any time in your schedule that you could fit in either 30 minutes or an hour once a week to go help our kindergartners learn how to read, I highly encourage it. So thank you.
Thank you very much. May I have a motion to approve the grant application museum grants for African American history and culture?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Mr. James, seconded by Ms. Boynton. Superintendent, do you wish to provide a presentation on this item?
Yes, Dr. Butler from our Grants and Federal Program Office is going to come up and share something very excited that we have been working on for quite a long time.
Mr. Mitchell?
Good evening, Madam Chair, Madam Vice Chair, Board Superintendent. It is my pleasure to present, along with Mr. Scott Mitchell, our museum grant for African American history and culture. This project is to support the improvement of operations, care of collections, and development of African American museums. A few of the museum highlights for the application. We're requesting funds to create opportunities to expand the knowledge of African American history in Marion County. We're proposing a partnership between Howard Academy and the Silver River Museum to create these learning opportunities. We believe that having two sites will increase the knowledge and the exposure of individuals in Marion County. For example, if we have this partnership and we share artifacts with the Silver River Museum, all Marion County Public School fourth graders will experience Black history when they go for their annual education field trips. Our current host site. Currently, the district hosts the Black History Museum and Archives in our historical African American school. To your left, you see Howard Academy, the original, and then our current Howard Academy Community Center on the right. Alumni and community members have been collecting artifacts and displaying these artifacts in a dedicated room in Howard Academy. The room has been maintained by volunteers since its inception. The Black History Archives were created with the concept of sharing local African American history. It grew from the desire of elders to not allow history to be barred or washed away. The purpose of our project. So we've talked about the exposure, we've talked about the partnership. It's important to note that the artifacts that will be shared with the Silver River Museum will maintain ownership of Howard Academy. All the artifacts, pictures, and such will be officially archived at Howard Academy, and there will be cabinetry, shelving, and technology purchased so that these articles can be organized and also preservation of the materials. The room will be designed to host historical presentations and provide resource space for research with information kiosks, and also have a staff member there to lead the curriculum. This partnership, community input has been very important. There's a vision, a lot of dedication, and a lot of hard work that's gone into having the archives built at Howard Academy. So we've talked to key stakeholders, and the feedback has been very positive. They've offered their time and resources to ensure that this project comes to fruition. I'm now going to turn it over to Mr. Mitchell to talk about the project work plan.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you all for having us. The work will take place at the two sites, the Silver River Museum, where I normally work on a day-to-day basis. The high points of Black history in Florida and primarily Marion County will be put into a new exhibit, which we are going to do regardless of whether the grant is awarded or not. And we'll actually have that exhibit open and in place for February this month. That's in the back room of the museum, which we refer to as the History Wing. All of the fourth graders in Marion County Public Schools have the opportunity to come out to the Silver River Museum for a historical field trip. We provide the bus, we have a resource teacher. Occasionally we'll have schools that will back out because of scheduling conflicts, but we see about 90–95% of the fourth graders in the public schools through that program. We also see fifth graders, but they study science, so we're not going to talk about them tonight. So we'll have the exhibit at the Silver River. We will bring over trained volunteers to help provide labor to go through the cabinets and the boxes of the letters and photographs and historic objects over at Howard Academy Community Center in the Black History Archives. And those items will be inventoried and cataloged with a searchable computer catalog created. So if someone comes in and they want to find everything that the Black History Archives has on Paradise Park, they can do a search on Paradise Park and it'll bring up essentially like Dewey Decimal numbers for a library book, but also the location of where those resources are stored in the archives. We'll help them with some exhibit designs for displays over at Howard Academy. We'll help them find suitable folks who have proper training on a volunteer basis to come in and help us serve as curators for the collection. And we'll also schedule all of the field trips, which we're doing that already anyways, for the fourth graders to come out to the Silver River Museum. Now at Howard Academy, at least until the project gets rolling, I anticipate being over there a fair amount to help get things started. And like I said earlier, we'll have volunteers over there. We'll coordinate with the Howard Academy staff and the volunteers. And we've already selected a whole list of acid-free, archival, stable storage containers, folders, cabinetry that we hope to purchase with the grant to store the collection once it's organized. And then we'll also help Howard Academy with getting some of this information out to the schools. Right now it's in the archives room, which is wonderful, but the community and the students don't have a lot of access to it without going and searching it out. What we want to do is help get it organized, make it a little bit more accessible, pull some of those high points out and put them on exhibit at the Silver River Museum so that all the fourth graders see them. Dr. Butler?
So the grant, we submitted our application the end of November, and the award decision will be finalized in July. We are optimistic. However, as Mr. Mitchell already alluded, we are still moving forward, and so the new Black History exhibit will be installed by February 1st, and we're really excited about that. And now the exhibit highlights in brief. Mr. Mitchell will again talk about that.
Okay, so you all probably know I'm a history buff. There's a lot of great Black history in Florida. The thing that we want to do at the Silver River is we want to pull out and highlight some of those really positive stories about the strength and the historical contributions of folks in the past that helped create what we know as Florida today. We'll start as early as Fort Mose, which was the first free black settlement in North America in 1738. It's located just north of St. Augustine, and that's a whole other presentation in itself. Now, the rest of them will be specific to Marion County. We had very fierce folks that they called themselves Black Seminoles. They were one of the main reasons that the Seminole Indians were never conquered by the U.S. Army. They were key in fighting. And there were some historic figures like the fellow down in the lower left, that's Abraham. He was one of Osceola's main interpreters and advisors and was actually here in Marion County. The only time we ever had federal troops come into Marion County during the Civil War was at the very end of the war. They were African-American federal troops. They called them U.S. colored troops back then, and you'll see the acronym USCT. The 3rd USCT was active, came down from Jacksonville into Marion County and raided sugar plantations along the Ocklawaha River, had a running gun battle with the Confederates, liberated a bunch of slaves. That's a great story in itself. These are some of the men from one of those units in the upper right-hand corner. Paradise Park, I think most people know about Paradise Park during segregation at Silver Springs. This little guy on the right was one of the advertising.
That was Mr. James.
No, I don't,
No.
no, I don't think that's Mr. James. So those are some of the early historic figures.
Could have been now, guys, it could have been.
We have a plan for Mr. James. We're going to sneak him in there. And that's a good segue because these are earlier historic figures, 17, 1800s. The other thing we want to do, and you'll notice what's missing from this photograph, is women. We want to have things for the little girls to see. And so what we're going to do is we're going to have some more current community leaders that will be highlighted in that exhibit showcase. So it won't just be soldiers and, you know, black Seminoles with muskets and all that stuff. We're going to have some female role models from a little bit more contemporary times. It will be historic, and it will also be more recent contemporary leaders of the community. That will be the exhibit that's permanently installed in the back room, and it'll be part of that 4th grade curriculum, part of that Florida history field trip.
We are so excited. So we are going to have an open house on February 7th. We hope that everyone is able to attend, get the word out. The open house will go from 4 until 6. And then at 6 o'clock, our speaker of the hour will be our very own Mr. Bobby James. He has roots and a connection to Howard Academy as well as the Civil River Museum. So more to come. Thank you.
Thank you. Any discussion? Any questions, Mr. James?
One of the things that I just want to put out there, I know that we have so many people that have so many items that they would like possibly to present for the museum. What's your procedure for people that want to donate some things that have some historical value to what we're doing? Because there's still some people out there that really have some items that really need to be in there. Do you have a plan for that?
I think first and foremost, they'd probably be most appropriately housed at the Black History Archives at Howard. If the family specifically requested that a certain item be displayed at the Silver River, we would have that discussion then. I think it's contingent on, obviously you want to have permission of the donor. It can't be someone taking something that belongs. We have to have room at the archives to store it, but I believe once the word gets out, those collections will probably grow and build because people will bring things to donate.
Okay, I was not thinking about the museum. They're coming directly to Silver River. I was thinking about the people that was in that area that lived there and probably had that old bell that was ringing at that school at that time. Do they bring it to the Howard Academy or where would they do?
Yes, and we predict that that would happen and are actually looking forward to that happening. Since meeting with some key stakeholders, I have a lady who's been there every day going through, looking through things. So that won't be a problem. We're excited, and that's part of the cataloging that we're going to do and working with Silver River Museum to make sure that we put those things in their proper place.
Yeah. Okay. And Mr. James, I was actually referring to the archives at Howard.
Okay.
So our exhibits are pretty well built out. We have limited space. And our goal is not to start to collect these things. In fact, we have some documents and some old ledgers and information about early one-room schools across Marion County during segregation. We're going to shift all that stuff over to Howard for curation over there. But our goal is to get it organized, and anything that's at Howard that comes over for display, as Dr. Butler mentioned, that will remain property of the archives over at Howard. We'll simply display it, and if they want to switch things out, we'll work with them in that capacity as well.
Thank you.
Thank you
Any other
all.
questions? Thank you very much. That's very exciting. So with no further discussion, all those in favor, please say aye, and any opposed, like sign.
Aye.
And the vote passed 5-0. Thank you. Before moving on to our next item, I would like to set the stage. I would like to make sure that this discussion stays respectful, that board members are respectful to each other, and that our audience is respectful to all of the board members and the superintendent. I would ask you not to have applause. I would ask you to not be yelling or having noises while we are having this discussion. It will be a healthy discussion. You had your opportunities to voice your opinions during the public comment, so I ask that you please be respectful and board members be respectful. I also would prefer that the article in today's paper not become a source of discussion, because I don't believe that that is pertinent to the decision that we have to make this evening. May I have a motion to approve the closing of Evergreen School?
So moved.
Moved by Bobby James.
Second.
Seconded by Kelly King. Discussion, please.
I would like to amend the motion
To say,
and to replace with option 3, and strike all wording and replace with option 3. Approve contracting with an outside entity that has demonstrated a record of effectiveness to operate the school. So that
do I
is an
have a
amendment.
second to that amendment?
Second.
We will now vote on the motion for the amendment. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign, nay.
I'm sorry.
And the motion passed 4-1. We will now open for discussion on your amended motion prior to voting on the amended motion. Ms. King?
Okay. All right. We all know that Evergreen has been a failing school for years, and up to this point, our superintendents, dating back for years, have not been able to solve this problem. Evergreen Elementary only has to pull 4 points this year to be a C. Last year, they raised the score 9 points, and this is not an impossible goal. My concern is that 3 schools where these children that were proposed to go to are currently C schools, and we are a C district. And according to the most recent iReady data, and this is the same data that is being used by this administration to suggest that we need to close Evergreen's doors, is predicting that College Park Elementary, which was a school that was one of the proposals where these students would go, in reading is showing that only 42% of the students are likely to be proficient on the FSA by the end of this year. Ocala Springs Elementary is predicted that only 55% is likely to be proficient on the FSA by the end of this year. South Ocala Elementary is predicted only at 52% to be proficient this year. In my opinion, it is highly likely, if not impossible, for these schools to absorb on an estimate of 200 students from a failing school and maintain their C status. By closing Evergreen's doors, we are not addressing the problems and our challenges that our community faces with our non-proficient students, but simply ignoring and possibly causing more problems in the future. Also, in my opinion, it is considerably less expensive to hire an outside entity to keep Evergreen open than it is to equip a middle school when other middle schools in our county are not functioning at capacity as it currently is. I am not in favor of closing Evergreen Elementary, but I am in support of hiring an external operator to solve this long existing problem.
Stacy?
Oh wait, before you start, I do have this data that I want to share, so you can compare. I received it today, so it is accurate, and you can see what the other schools are performing also. up to date. So if you want to take that reading, and then I also provided our math scores so that you're aware.
Well, thank you.
There you go.
Thank you so much.
Ms. Stacy?
Yes. I have obtained the 2016-17 turnaround school plan for Evergreen from the Department of Education, approved by the State Board in their October public meeting almost a year and a half ago. I am shocked and appalled that this district apparently has ignored large pieces of that document, which sadly set this school up to fail by giving them less resources than the highly performing schools received, which were certified classroom teachers. On page 4 of the document, there were to be documented parent trainings and parent engagement meetings. I have requested those documents and found out today there has been only one event, which was held last March, and they did a Thanksgiving dinner, which actually the other schools did. So basically there's only really been one event. That there's actually been less events at that school for parent involvement than the majority of the schools, especially the downtown schools and their high-performing schools have. In a school that the turnaround plan required that we have many events. On page 10 of the DOE-approved turnaround plan, it requires we have a district family involvement or community involvement organization, such as Engage in Education, and that was specifically mentioned as Engage. I saw 0 district-led community involvement or parent involvement meetings in 2016. I believe Engage in Education kind of went along by the wayside a bit, but nothing was put in place. We did have a parent engagement department to start, and I do not understand why there has been no involvement with that department with this school. On page 10 of the document, it requires that the school assign a named parent liaison to be trained by the district parent involvement coordinator. So she can then bring the strategies back to the school parents to help parents meet the plans of the parental involvement goals of the school. That was obviously ignored. If the parent nights and parties were only the ones that Mr. Livingston has given me documentation for, and these are required to be documented, they just don't exist. Our regular schools have more events than that school had. And Mr. Livingston couldn't have the events unless the district gave him money and provided funds for him to have those events. So therefore, this is a district plan, by the way. This is not Evergreen's individual plan. This is a district plan. It is up to district administrators to make sure these things happened. It was not the school principal's responsibility. I was shocked that the school did have a breakfast with Dad, and they charged Dad for the donut. When the parent involvement plan school speaks of basically, you know, some of their parent involvement stuff, that there would be free meals and everything to get parents to go there, and they charge 50 cents for the donut. On page 14, it says the district will allow priority hiring for Evergreen, yet we still don't have classroom teachers in second semester in several second grade classrooms. No one can explain to me why these schools did not receive priority hiring or what it really means. I've called several departments to find out what it means, and it sort of means that they kind of get hired first there, but nobody really, everybody kind of says, well, it kind of happened a year ago and we don't know. But I did so because I got so much conflicting information, I went to another county and I looked at Polk County's plan. And for their turnaround schools, they centralized the hiring for their turnaround schools to make sure that it was done by priority. I can't find that we did a single thing except give a bonus and ask for volunteers to go to the schools. The state statute allows for us to put teachers in schools where they're needed. Just as in my world, in my husband's business, if we had a construction project in Tampa, they did not volunteer to go to Tampa. They either went or they got a different career with our company. and we never had a problem. People went where they were needed, and I believe teachers would have gone where they were needed if we had handled it properly and implemented priority hiring like our plan said we would do, that was voted on and approved by the Board of Education. On page 15 of the document, it says teachers with less than effective status will be replaced at the end of 2016-17 school year at that school. Permanent uncertified subs and first-year teachers certainly have no effective or highly effective ranking. So what were they doing there? Why did we ignore the turnaround plan approved by the Department of Education, and we wonder why we can't turn the school around? We're not doing what we promised the Board of Education we would do. Now, just to make my point that these turnaround schools were not giving hiring priority, I have checked at the predominantly white schools of South Ocala, 8th Street, Madison Street, Ward Highlands, and Maplewood to find if they have permanent subs in their classrooms. No. They've got one second grade permanent sub over, I believe it was at Maplewood, but he has a degree. He is a teacher. He's got a degree. He's just waiting for his certification. Now, school board members and school community, hold on to your seats. I have been in communication for 2 days with the executive director of the Department of Education School Improvement Department, and I know that this district filed paperwork in October stating to the Department of Education they were closing this school. I have the documentation. They received it on October the 27th. She also provided me with documentation that the DOA received in November 16th, I believe was the date, with a list of every single name at Evergreen and which of the 3 schools, Anthony, South Ocala, or Reddick, these children would be going to. This board was only told this month in both private and at a public meeting, and we were told publicly through overheads and board workshops that they were looking at the December iReady data and they felt that they were too far from a C to get there, when in reality by September this decision had already been made, and the Department of Education received the completed form documenting the closing in October. 3 months ago, the DOE had already been told in writing the school was closing, and the students had already been reassigned. In January, nothing was mentioned of this, and I don't understand how, Heidi, you could have betrayed the trust of this board by not being honest with the people in this room. We've had community meetings, we've had board meetings, and it's not funny to get that smirk off your face, lady. This shows that by September, this district had already hatched a plan to let this school fail so they could have an elaborate middle arts magnet. I'm embarrassed and I'm sorrowful that some from this board lectured the NAACP about fulfilling their community volunteer responsibilities to their community and to their minority children at a board meeting, a workshop meeting here. Because in truth, it was the paid school board and the paid superintendent, paid by the taxpayers, who betrayed your children. We did not follow the DOE-approved plan. Shame on us for blaming anyone but ourselves. And shame on us for blaming you for not being active enough in your community to help turn this school around. This board owes Evergreen School family and community and the NAACP supporters a request for their forgiveness. Now, my big question is next. I now ask, did this district and or the Department of Education violate Administrative Code 6A-1.0 099-811, entitled Differentiated Accountability State System of School Improvement. The DOE was to oversee the fidelity of the DOE-approved turnaround plan and make sure it was done with fidelity. What was the DOE doing when they came here? We were doing almost nothing that that plan told us to do. I have proven tonight it was not done with fidelity. So therefore, the DOE has some answering to do to this school board member as to why taxpayers were paying someone to come in here from Tallahassee or wherever they came from to oversee that school, to make sure we were doing it right, when I don't know what plan he was looking at, because I can tell you tonight it didn't happen. So I suggest there could be a possibility of an administrative code that was violated by the Department of Education themselves, especially when the plan says we will not have a teacher at that school with less than an effective VAM, and we had countless ones there through the use of uncertified permanent subs. I believe this administration set innocent children up to fail so we could have a beautifully fluff-lined magnet school. I'm saddened, and I don't know when this plan was hatched, but I know it was hatched by the end of September. Thank you.
Mr. James?
I just want to clean up some things. First of all, if we go to an external provider, we will be making a contract with that person. It will be between the school board, the superintendent, and the provider. So we do not lose control of the school, just the academic portion. We will provide transportation and all of that. So the theory that people were thinking that we're losing control of the school. And the external provider have to be a proven success record in reference to this. The thing that people said in reference to us being steward of our money, of your money, I just want to make sure everybody understand that we have 3 middle schools that is at capacity. We have 4 middle schools that are not at capacity. For us to put a middle school less than 3 miles or within 3 miles of a school that's under capacity is not wise taxpayer money. Howard Middle School can easily absorb those students that we want to bring there in reference to a magnet. If we are truly interested in providing a performance performing arts school, let's put it in our plans to move those kids to put that portion of our program at Howard, because they can accommodate that, and they will be they will be less expensive. They have auditorium, they have the space, and they have all of the necessary ingredients to accommodate those students. We're talking about 200 to first. That can be easily done. So if we were not just blowing smoke at us, guys, if we want a performing arts school, let's get it in our agenda to move it and put one at Howard. That would ensure that we will have another school that's close to capacity, and we can keep our commitment to the people in the shores, because we have bought property out there for our middle school. And I think if we have people in this audience that know every time there's an election, we have these school board members out there, the middle school is on the way, we bought the property. And now we put a middle school 3 miles away. It's important to note these things, because it's important that we are stewards of the money and we understand the complete picture of what is occurring when we make moves. Thank you.
Ms. Boynton?
You know, sometimes you begin to understand why we have a school board. You know, we never get the idea. We can come and talk up on the school board. And so as I listened to what the information that you were telling us, Kelly, you know, because I'm on District 4, so I'm looking for what? Evergreen. And once you brought that more information, you know, you began to say, yes. And in the picture that you gave us over here, you know, it made me kind of a little sad that because education is about the students, you know. This is about, so there was I will not vote to close Evergreen, not at all, not at all. As I looked, we had 77% of them were black children, and by the time someone would take that school and pull even at first it was Reddick. That was like instantly every student already understands that nobody cares about them. Because it was in the newspaper instantly, and all they thought was, Reddick, you don't want us. You were saying you don't care about what? Education. Education is what this is about. So I cannot close for the Evergreen. As I looked at the turnaround, they have some options. And as I looked at the options, I thought, well, a charter. You know, I like charters, but I'm public. I am a public education board. So I said, as I looked down, we had another one, and it was number 3 for a contract. And as I looked at that, I began to say, you know, for the students, for the children, our students, I think we should have another. We should not close Evergreen and look for another contract.
Beth, I forgot one thing.
Mr. James.
Excuse me, I'm sorry. I forgot. No, you said it.
He wants to say something. He wants to interject.
Are you through, Ms. Boynton?
No, I'm through. Go ahead.
Okay, when we had the meeting over at Evergreen, I did have an opportunity to talk with Dr. Green and Dr. Thomas, and they are willing to come to Marion County and meet with the board or talk with the board in reference to
I'd be glad to talk to them.
if we want them to come, just to clean up, tell us exactly what they got, what they have. So if the board would like to have them to do that, all we have to do is have the superintendent call, and they will make arrangements to come back and meet with the board and talk with us about. Hopefully, we can get some answers to some of the questions that Nancy brought up as well. So that's one of the things that I want to bring there. So if the board want to do that, we could do that.
Dr. Mayor.
Thank you. Yeah, well, gentlemen, come on up for the specifics. And all is well. I fully expected to be attacked tonight, and that's okay because politics has no place in the classroom, and it's fine that it's here. And just remember the date of November 2016 when we stopped sitting back watching our district grades plummet, as was referenced earlier, as that's the only thing that could have happened at that time, and we stepped up to create a solution. And respectfully, I just say that while the recommendation may not have been appreciated by all stakeholders, this administration stepped up to solve a problem, to take care of children after they had been ignored for years. So we wanted to address a few things. Go ahead.
Thank you. Chairman McCall, board members, Madam Superintendent, Mr. Gibbs. As I understand it, Mrs. Stacy was quoting from the 16-17 turnaround plan, which would have been filed by the prior administration.
It doesn't matter, it's in place.
And unfortunately, there's a paucity of records still extant from that administration since a volume of materials were shredded in the curriculum and instruction branch prior to us coming into office. I can tell you what we have done for priority hiring for 5 schools. And to revisit history, there are 5 elementary schools that are currently receiving an additional hour of student contact. And of those 5, 3 are in turnaround status. And one of them is in phase 2, and that being Evergreen. We have offered a $5,000 bonus for highly effective teachers to come to those schools. Currently at Evergreen, there are 7 highly effective members. There are 26 classroom teachers at Evergreen. There are 7 who either chose to remain there as highly effective teachers or came there as a result of that additional salary pay of $5,000, plus because they were an extended learning school, it amounts to, on average, over an additional $5,000 in payment that they receive. And when we talked at the work session, I mentioned $10,000, which is half of it is that bonus and half of it is the additional learning opportunity. In addition to that, paraprofessionals who stay there during that extended learning time have the ability to earn about an additional $2,800 on their salary for the year. Right now, of the 26 classroom teachers at Evergreen, there are 5 classrooms that have substitutes. 3 of those are second grade classes and 2 are ESE classrooms. We have traditionally had a very difficult time staffing ESE requirements because a few years back the state changed the law in terms of certification requirements so that not only do you have to be certified in elementary education, for example, but also in areas you teach and for each grade level for the children who you have in those classrooms. We are typically forced with having out-of-field teachers and substitute teachers in ESE settings. This is not unique to Evergreen. It's not unique to the districts in the state of Florida. The question was raised about what have we done to get teachers to Evergreen. And as I mentioned, the additional pay is a part of it. Unfortunately, we're swimming against a strong current in that we now have performance pay in the state of Florida, and teachers' pay is based in part on their VAM scores from the prior year. A comment was made that you couldn't put someone who was a teacher who didn't have a VAM score of effective or highly effective at those schools. Reality is you can't put someone there who had a VAM score less than effective at those schools. And we did, in fact, move teachers out at the beginning of this year who, even though by all accounts they were successful teachers overall in our system, their VAM scores were below the cut and they had to be moved out. And not just Evergreen, but Wyoming Park was another case where we had to displace teachers. But by and large, we have worked very hard to put highly effective teachers in all 5 of those schools, but most particularly in the 3 turnaround schools. So the remaining question is, well, why don't you just grab a highly effective teacher from Bellevue Elementary or 8th Street or Reddick Collier and require them to go teach at Evergreen? That creates a secondary problem for us. One problem is the state of Florida no longer gives professional services contract status. Every teacher's on a 1-year contract. When they had PSC status, it was a disincentive for teachers to jump districts, because when they went to another district, they gave up their PSC status and they started a period of 3 years where they had to earn it again as an annual contract teacher. Now, since 2011, every teacher has been denied the ability to earn professional services contract status. And what that means is it's more likely that a teacher who's not happy in their current assignment can go to an adjacent district like Sumter County, which has an elected superintendent, which pays 9th highest salaries in the state, which is an A district. And there are a number of teachers who've left Marion County, even without the disincentive, to go to Sumter County. We see this in a number of the surrounding counties. It's very easy to commute, particularly if you live in the north or the south portion of the county. Could we force highly effective teachers to go somewhere where they don't want to be? Yes, we could. There is in the collective bargaining agreement that is enabled. However, the question for the community and for the parents is, do you want a teacher in your child's classroom who does not want to be there, who's there against their will? And what are the likelihood that they're going to bond with that community and stay there for an extended period? I'm not trying to pass judgment on teachers, but I'm saying teachers are economic animals just as everybody else in the job market out there. I spent much of the last 22 years looking out for the interests of public school teachers. And I can tell you they vote with their feet. And teachers who come into the profession this year, within 5 years, more than half of them will be out of the profession. Turnover rates are significant in the profession as a whole. I think we need to be very careful about draconian approaches to moving teachers. But I think, as the record indicates, we've been making progress at that school, and it has been moving up. Unfortunately, House Bill 7069, and Mrs. Stacy, I think you have one of the pens that was used to sign that into law, shortened the time we have by a year.
Thank goodness.
And as a result, we're forced to make a decision today without even having the results for this year. It's an untenable situation for the board, for the superintendent, for us to be in, but it's the reality we deal with. I'll defer to Dr. Grantham on other curricular issues.
Good evening again. Very suddenly, I'm kind of at a loss for words, but I am right now. Ms. King, you asked how can we not grow 4 points? We are looking at data, and the proficient points are higher, the growth points are not. That's how. So how can we not? We certainly want to be a C. We love to be a C. But we're trying to look at the data we have, so that's how. The other school that you compared to that had the proficient points, their growth points are higher, so they're okay. So that's how you get to those points. Ms. Stacy, you keep referring to the TOPS plan. That's from 16-17. There is nothing. There's nothing that has been submitted to DOE yet. It has to be submitted January 31st.
That was a 2-year plan. I know all about it.
And then 7069
And it wasn't shredded. It's at the DOE.
So nothing has been submitted
He's talking to me. I won't answer him back.
Nothing has been submitted to January 31st. Today's the 23rd. We've waited as long as we possibly could. So nothing has been submitted. That's based off the board recommendation that goes to DOE. So nothing has, that was a 2-year plan. There's nothing there. Mr. James, you're absolutely correct. We need Mr. Green and Dr. Thomas to come speak to the board so they can answer those questions, because sometimes you have just enough information to think you know. Bring them in and talk to them. Have a conversation with them about where the process, and I totally support that. But we are trying to make a decision now that's due January 31st. Nothing has been submitted as of yet. Nothing has been submitted to them. It will be based off your recommendation tonight. And then we will bring in, you have to do an RFP, so the board, you're right, Mr. James, you hire this entity that we have no idea what they teach or what they do. We don't know if they're represented by the union. We don't know anything. It's so gray, we don't know. And that's a little concerning for me. I don't know what they're going to teach the students. I have no idea. So let's see. I mean, then that's your choice. That's your pleasure if that's what you want to do. But we are trying to do, based off the rules of the game we have, we're trying to do this and make sound decisions. So, Ms. King, I hope they're a C. I hope they're a C. Bring in Mr. Green and have conversations with them. But the integrity attack and the attack on, because you keep referring to this administration, I am part of this administration. That's me. So I take that a little personally. But we are doing the best we know how with the rules of the game that we are playing. Mr. McCall.
I have a comment because something was directed toward me. And Mr. Grantham, or Dr. Grantham, your comments were that the school that's making a 42% is showing growth, so they're okay. Please explain to me how 42% in the middle of the year are projected at proficiency. How is that okay?
Mr. McGowan sent you a very detailed email explaining how you receive your school grade. There's 4 quartiles, 4 cells, the bottom 25, and the growth points that make your overall school grade. You're looking at proficiency alone. That's 3
right,
of the 7.
That's telling me that only 42% of students are proficient in reading.
Listen,
that is not okay.
I understand that. But what they're saying is, and it's actually better than it used to be. It used to be they didn't care about how much you grew. Now they're looking at how much students are growing, how many growth points they're having. So it's actually 4 out of the 7, which is better than everything. So I agree, 42% proficient is not good. But the growth is happening in those bottom 4 cells at the school. So there is growth happening at those schools. That's why I said they're a strong C. Some of those might be a B because the kids are growing. They're not proficient, but they're growing.
Dr. Rantham, you spoke about you haven't filed anything. I will contact the executive director of the Department of Education tomorrow to tell her that a unicorn from the district sent this document to her saying that we were recommending closing the school in October. It came from this district to the Department of Education, and that a unicorn on November the 16th sent this list that I have here that I can give you a copy of, that's got every student listed at Evergreen and what school you're sending them to. The district unicorn did it.
I don't deal with unicorns. I don't do that.
Well, you said it didn't happen.
I don't know who you keep referring to as the executive director. I know most of the folks up there.
Miss Ramsey.
Okay, Miss Melissa Ramsey.
Yes.
Yes. I don't know if
I got her
DOE said,
email.
that's great, I know her, so that's fine. What I'm telling you is nothing has been submitted until January 31st. That's why you're voting tonight.
She has a copy of the roster and the schools they're reassigned to, sent to her November 16th.
They have that for all the schools. They ask for that all the time, for all the top
So
5.
where you were going to reaassign them?
I don't know anything about reassignment.
Well, then,
Show me
I
that. Bring Melissa here. Let's have all DOE here and have a conversation. That's what I'm tired of the gray.
email. Yeah, I'm forwarding her email to you right now.
Okay.
Okay, all right, that's, I think,
Okay, and one other thing now, I know we can apply for an extension. That's one of the things that we said. Okay. We can apply for an extension
Dr. Mayor?
if we go this route.
And just one other point, we did look at numbers at Howard. There are 300 open seats at Howard. We had that double checked with Mr. Raymond. So while that's not enough room to start a magnet there, what we want to do there is to grow the gifted choice option there, but we can look at other 300 seats.
The thing I'm gonna say, that's fine. But the thing I'm saying, we're gonna start this middle school with 200 students. Am I missing something?
And then it would grow.
It would grow.
Right.
And it could grow at Howard.
With 300 open seats, though. That's what I'm saying, is that we looked at that option.
Well, you bring that to a work session and let's
Okay.
really look at how we can put those kids over there.
We want to grow the gifted choice there.
And I think that is a topic of discussion at a workshop on, we all recognize we need the magnet performing arts middle school, and we need to look at what our best options are for that. And I think that is a separate discussion tonight than this. So, Dr. Mayor, do you have any other comments?
No, ma'am.
Okay. My comments are this. First of all, I want to thank Mr. Livingston and the staff that he has, because if Wayne Livingston had been there 3 years ago, we probably would not be in this situation. No applause, please. Also, the teachers that are there, they have worked very hard, and they have worked hard without a lot of parental support and volunteer support. And that is difficult to do, to not have tutors in the schools, to not have mentors in those schools. I am very concerned about this external operator, and let me tell you why. The list that we've been given, and there are others that could be on the list, and I looked them all up today, they are all charter schools. They are all charter schools, none of them in Florida, and they are now calling themselves external operators. This is uncharted waters. There is no history on whether these external operators will be effective or not, and we have to sign a multi-year contract with one of them. And I think fiscally, we have no idea what we're getting into. How do we know they will be successful when this has never been tried before? And it is uncharted waters. And I have a difficult time going with a plan that has been untested. They have not been vetted. None of these have been vetted companies, vetted charter schools. We're going to pick from some that from other states. Maybe there's some in our state that we can pick from, but we haven't vetted them, and we're going to have to sign a contract with them. There have been no contracts signed with external operators because it is so new. I had our attorney look into that to see what are those contracts saying. There are none yet because it is so new. That's a concern. I think that's a risk that I'm just not willing to take. Mrs. Stacy mentioned schools where there are parents, many more parents that are involved, and yes, there are a lot of schools who have successful parent organizations and PTAs and active SACs and volunteers in their classrooms, and bravo for them. And I would love to see the same thing at Evergreen, and I don't think that it's unreasonable to ask, since we've never had it there before, to ask for a plan. How many volunteers? What is your plan to help those students? I do not think that's unreasonable at all. I think our workforce will be a problem. They're going to recruit from the teachers that we have, and we have a shortage of teachers as is, and it's difficult to get teachers to go to Evergreen. So I think finding the qualified, highly effective workforce is going to be a problem. We've heard for years, and I heard when I was on the campaign trail, that parents wanted their children closer to their homes. That Evergreen for many of our parents was just too far. And the board actually heard that and said, when it was talked about Reddick, Collier, and Anthony, that it needed to be closer. So that they will be closer. College Park and Ocala Springs. And the legislation is very clear. These children must go into highly effective teachers' classrooms, and we must monitor them for 3 years. The legislation is very clear. We don't know what we're going to get with an external operator. But we know if we put our children in highly effective teachers' classrooms and monitor them, I think they have a much better chance for success. I think that there could be consequences to tonight's decisions that none of us really know about. Could be consequences either way. But I think going with an external audit operator where we still have all of the FTE and transportation costs, plus have to pay them to manage the school, where we haven't been able to vet them. We have a multi-year contract. What if they're not successful year one? And we have a multi-year contract. I think that's a fiscal risk that we're taking to do that. So, with that.
Can I say one more thing, please?
No, ma'am. I will call for the vote.
Okay.
My computer just went
Well,
all
we
those
already
computers all went off.
All those in favor, vote aye. And
Aye.
opposed, vote nay.
Oh,
Are
yeah.
your computers off?
Are all off.
Okay, but you can go by, Ann, you can vote for us. Aye.
Aye. Did you
Mine
vote?
worked.
Oh, hers worked.
You're the only one that worked.
She's the little miss teacher. She's got hers
So
fixed.
this is voting on the amended motion.
We'll say yes or no.
It passed 4 to 1. 4 yeas to 1 nay. May I have a motion to approve the following cash or tangible donations that have a total of $26,939.61. $5,000 to Family, School, and Community Engagement from Ocala Outreach Foundation. Please, if you're leaving, I would ask that you please leave quietly. $5,000 to Family, School, and Community Engagement from Ocala Outreach Foundation, Feed the Need. $1,112.61 to Greenway Elementary School from Greenway Elementary School PTO. $1,827 to Harborview Elementary School from Public Education Foundation of Marion County. $3,000 to Marion Technical College from Marion County Veterans Helping Veterans, Inc., $2,500 to Romeo Elementary School from their business partner On Top of the World 100 Grandparents Club via the Public Education Foundation for school year 16-17. $2,500 to Romeo Elementary School from their business partner On Top of the World 100 Grandparents Club via the Public Education Foundation for school year 17-18. $1,000 to Saddlewood Elementary School from their business partner Webster University via the Public Education Foundation. $2,500 to Silver River Museum from Duke Energy. $500 to Silver River Museum from Mr. and Mrs. William A. Ross. $5,000 to Spar Elementary School from Midstate Skin Institute, LLC. And $2,000 to Vanguard High School from Public Education Foundation of Marion County, AT&T STEM at Work grant. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Mr. James, seconded by Mrs. King. Is there any discussion? If not, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
And the vote passed 5-0. Ms. Stacy, would you like to thank?
Yes, I certainly would. In times like this, when our district is pushing along and doing great things in the school system, sometimes we have things that get a little bit off track, but there's a lot of wonderful things that are still going on. And so sometimes evenings like this kind of cloud over the great things. And the people that help our district with their contributions and their volunteer time and their tax dollars, that's what keeps public education rolling along. And I'd like to thank them from the bottom of my heart tonight.
Prior to, let me see, the next administrative briefing and work sessions are scheduled for Thursday and Monday, January 25th and 29th, 2018 at 9 a.m. The purpose of the work session on January 25th is to review the health and life insurance bidding process and will include an attorney-client session. The purpose of the January 29th work session is to begin review of the proposed staffing plan for 2018-19 and to receive the annual review of charter schools. Prior to the January 29th work session, there will be a special school board meeting at 8:45 a.m. The purpose of this meeting is to approve the list of teachers that are out of field in ESOL and other areas. All right, board concerns, and Ms. Boynton, we'll start with you.
Can I just pass over for right now?
Okay.
Thank you.
Mr. James?
I just want to say to everybody here, it's whatever we make of this. And I look at what we talked about tonight. This is whatever we make of it. It is important that we go and make something good happen here, because I'm convinced that there's nothing wrong with bringing a new bull into the pasture, and it make a difference. I know you don't know what I'm talking about. If you've been doing the same thing, you got the same.
I understood. I was just
okay.
thinking it was interesting.
All I'm saying is just plain common sense that we've been doing the same thing all the time. You're gonna get less. So let's do something a little different. Bring in some people down here. Bring this guy in from the state, and let's go to rolling. And this is what my whole point is, and these are my comments. And I would strongly encourage people to really look at the positive things that we talked about tonight. I am very pleased with what we're doing in our technology program. I am very pleased what we're doing at the schools, but I would like to encourage people to really encourage their kids to get involved with these programs at an early age. There's some money out there, and if we want to be involved with it as a group, We need to encourage our young people to get involved with their vocational programs at school. That's very important. Thank you.
Ms. Stacy?
Yes, and I would like to thank everyone for coming tonight. Mr. Gibbs, I forwarded you the emails so that you could forward them to the school board members, because I believe you also spoke with Ms. Ramsey today, and she shared the same information with you that I shared tonight on the October and November documents coming out of Marion County. So you can send those emails to the other board members. And I would like to say I will be visiting visiting the Evergreen School. I'm so excited. I love a challenge. I love watching kids see that we care about them. And I enjoyed immensely my meeting with you a couple nights ago. I learned so much. My heart was heavy when I heard some of the discussion about times of the past and what's happened with our minority children. Not just current families, but their families and their families. That we have parents that it's very, very hard for them to be involved in the school because they are also illiterate, because they also were not in top schools in the district and they were bused all over creation. There's just been, Condoleezza Rice said something interesting a few years ago. She said our next civil rights issue will be dealt with within the public school system. I think I see now exactly what she was talking about. We will make change. And Mrs. Boynton, you're exactly right. There's a reason for the school board. There's a reason we need to go to the political forums, the community forums, and the discussions. And so I would like for Ms. McCall, I don't know how we make this happen, but if there was some way we could make a statement, maybe on our website, if there's community forums that they would like for board members to attend, that we need to advertise them ahead of time, so you need to schedule it out about 2 weeks. So, you know, when you're making your forum meetings and everything, just schedule them out a couple of weeks, let us know, and we can put in a public advertisement from the school board that our school board members would like to attend if we're invited. And that way, not only can we come and attend, we don't have to sit there like we did Sunday night and not talk to one another. If it's advertised, we can chat and we can interact with board members and we can really do a good job, because what's happened over the years, your elected officials, the people that you elect, have been shut down so that bureaucratic governments can run government. Staff can run government over and above the elected officials' heads, because the elected officials can't get involved in some of these community groups because of sunshine laws. So this way we can get around that and we can start to become involved and by advertising those meetings. And so I'd like to spread that word to you to start with. And I've already spoken to our attorney about how we can advertise, and just invite us, we advertise and we go. Thank you.
Ms. King?
Okay. It's been a long night and stuff, but tonight I'm going to speak for my constituents that are teachers. I've had a group of veteran teachers that I've put together some notes with some of their worries and their concerns about what's going on with their job, and they want the board to be aware of it, but they're afraid to present it themselves in fear of retribution. So I'm going to hand everybody what they have provided me with. And basically, some of the highlights that they'll be receiving, and Dr. Mayer, you know, I know we're going to have a workshop on February 22nd, but I think you need to know this beforehand to start working on it. Some of their concerns, and this is elementary teachers that we're discussing, they have concerns about common boards. There's a description of what's going on in there. STEAM showcase, they have a little bit, curriculum maps. Again, that seems to be a hot topic. They're stating that they're not user-friendly and that accessing them is difficult and takes many steps. The maps are not always uploaded 2 weeks before the upcoming units, so they're not prepared. First grade specifically, they said that they should never be teaching addition and subtraction strategies after they have taught two-digit addition or subtraction. This is what they're bringing up to us. The QSMAs not matching the skills that are taught. They have concerns about iReady, which we talked about tonight. Children are expected to learn how to navigate the program, and they only see it 3 times a year. They have concerns about the upcoming textbook adoption. In it, they're talking about foundations again. They're concerned that we're purchasing these, but the foundations are still not funded, such as their student magnetic boards, their journals, and etc. There's more in there that's listed. K through 3 are also in desperate need of new science and social studies books. They stated that it's been over 15 years since they've been purchased. I'm curious about that. They believe consumable products to supplement like Studies Weekly, Science Weekly, and some other things. They have some suggestions. They're bringing up AR again. Homework. They say parents now, more than ever, are disconnected from what their children are doing in school. They feel that parents didn't help their children with their homework in the past, but at least the ones that did could work on with their children being taught in class. Communication is another concern that they have. Communication, along with the morale, is at an all-time low. They said many new programs, Foundations, iReady, Marion, DRA2, and Common Board were implemented without proper training. Any information for teachers should always come from direct emails from someone in the district, such as Grantham or a program specialist, instead of public relations, such as Kevin Christian. And I think that came from our last board meeting when they didn't know, I think there was some confusion about how they were presented that information. And Mr. Christian, you said you sent out about the textbooks. They're requesting that it come, they're not used to seeing it come from you. Like they feel if there's a direct message to the teacher, it should come from their direct report, not like a social PR person. That's not directed at you, I'm just telling you what they said. And then there's some issues in there about pre-K. I'm just presenting this information, and I'll just leave it at that. Thank you.
Pardon me? Oh, you want it? Oh, you have
I
something
said
to say?
before.
Oh, sorry, I didn't think that either.
I know. All right. I just want to thank the community, the teachers, and our students. You know, this is about education, but I want all of the students and teachers to remember the grade for our school is about a test. Just remember that. We have the great. I believe that our teachers, you're the best that we've ever. I mean, you're really good, because that test, which is called the FSA, was the name of Common Core, is something that's changing education around. So I want y'all to just stand with us as we go up to Tallahassee to some of our senators, to let them understand how this changing is changing education for our students. Thank you.
Dr. Mayor?
Thanks. Would you like me to address each of these points now? Because I can. Oh, okay.
I think let's wait and do it at a workshop.
Okay, well, I can address them now, and I'd be happy to. But I was going to maybe mention this later, but I'll go ahead. But when I have to shut down our district office for at least a half a day on board meeting Tuesdays so that we can pull together and try to figure out how we're going to be ambushed at board meetings with questions that could be presented between a work session and the board meeting, or from when the agenda's published. I don't think that's a good use of taxpayer dollars, but we'll continue to do so. And I do have an answer for each of these, as we received this not only ahead of time, but these are easily answered. So we can do that for you, but we'll schedule a work session for that. Tonight is as Mr. James said, it was a wonderful night to celebrate the great things that are happening, and we are so excited to be part of it, and we thank you all for joining us in this journey. And it just brings to mind as well tonight, Matthew 5:13-16, when you talk about salt and light, and when the light shines, it's not always pleasant. And again, better politics here than politics in the classroom, and we'll take that. We'll take that. And I definitely will take it to keep it away from our children. Officer Barry, thank you for being here tonight. And Officer Hunt was in the lobby, so we got to share great pictures of kids with Officer Hunt, so make sure you ask him about the kids as you leave tonight. And they are doing well. He showed me lots of pictures. He's got a piano player. The little one's a piano player. Tomorrow is a very special day, and tomorrow's Mrs. King's birthday. Would you pass that down? Birthdays are always happy days. So happy birthday to you, and we hope that you enjoy it very much. And as well as tomorrow being Mrs. King's birthday, oh, and by the way, it's a Betty cake, and it says it's gluten-free. I don't think you're gluten-free, but no, look at the pretty pink at the top, and that's why I chose it. Okay, with a little nonpareil. Okay, so enjoy that, please, tomorrow on your special day. And tomorrow also is a full instructional day, so don't forget that, because it was supposed to be a half day on the original calendar, but because of the hurricane, tomorrow is a full instructional day. So we want to remind everybody about that. Some other things, our child abuse training is live. It is online. Principals have been instructed to provide professional development time during teacher work day time to complete that, so that's taken care of. Last Saturday, we had the most fabulous pre-K training. Our early learning team, Ms. Hamby and her coaches, put together an awesome training. Dr. Pam Phelps was here. She is the early childhood consultant from Tallahassee that we have through the SIG-4 grant. She was here and did opening and closing session. Our teachers that day through the grant did get stipends, and that's awesome. Next month, Ms. Horn has an awesome, it's called boot camp training, early in February for 3-5 teachers. As she mentioned before, she has arranged as well that stipends will be provided for that. And our K-2 teachers, when they saw us tweeting and posting on Facebook about the awesome pre-K training, they were asking if they could also have a training with Dr. Phelps, particularly our kindergarten teachers, who are very excited about moving in that direction. And so Ms. Gerlach and Ms. Lucas, they're on that as well. And oh, what else? Clin Ed. We have an awesome clinical educator training coming up, and that will be for our teachers who wish to have interns or who wish to be mentor teachers for our new teachers. And with the initiatives that were shared earlier when Dr. Grantham and Mr. Vianello shared that, we will need lots of Clin Ed trained teachers. We're going to do a pilot to begin with, get it fine-tuned, and then roll it out district-wide. So we appreciate those teachers who are participating in that initial training. This is also Celebrate Literacy Week, and we were able to kick that off this week. I was at Harborview, and I read an awesome story, and I'm very excited for tonight's story. Have you ever met Molly Lou Mellon? I have. Have you met Molly Lou Mellon? I read this when I taught pre-K, and I was talking with Mr. Gibbs when I came in, and I said, you've got to introduce Molly Lou Mellon to your girls. And she's just a great exemplar of all of that's good in the world. Oh, and before, just one last thing before I read Molly Lou Mellon. December 18th and 19th. On my public record calendar were the days we discussed the turnaround plan. Nothing has my signature on it, so I would like to see that email too when you send it to the board, because I've signed nothing, because nothing is done. So stand tall, Molly Lou Mellon. This is the first of a series. Okay. And that's Molly Lou Mellon, by the way. Okay. Molly Lou Mellon stood just taller than her dog and was the shortest girl in the first grade. She didn't mind. Her grandma had told her, walk as proudly as you can, and the world will look up to you. So she did. Look at her there. Molly Lou Mellon had buck teeth that stuck out so far she could stack pennies on them. She didn't mind. Her grandma had told her, smile big, and the world will smile right alongside you. And those of you who can't see in the audience, there she is in front of the mirror, and she's stacking the pennies on her buck teeth, smiling wide. Up. So she did. Molly Lou Mellon had a voice that sounded like a bullfrog being squeezed by a boa constrictor. She didn't mind. Her grandma had told her, sing clear and strong and the world will cry tears of joy. So she did. Molly Lou Mellon was often fumble-fingered. She didn't mind. Her grandma had told her, believe in yourself and the world will believe in you too. So she did. Then, Molly Lou Mellon moved to a new town. She had to say goodbye to her grandma and all her friends and start in a new school. On the first day of school, Ronald Durkin called her Shrimpo in gym class. When the game started, Molly Lou Mellon caught the football, ran under the legs of Ronald Durkin, and scored a touchdown. All the children thought, wow, she's good. And Ronald Durkin felt very foolish. There she is with her helmet. On the second day of school, Ronald Durkin called her Bucky Tooth Beaver. But Molly Lou Mellon took her pennies, stacked 10 high on her teeth, and smiled big as day. All the children smiled with glee, and Ronald Durkin felt very foolish. On the third day of school, Ronald Durkin said, you sound like a sick duck. Honk, honk. Molly Lou Mellon sang out a quack so clear and strong that it made Ronald Durkin somersault backwards, hit his head, and have to go to the nurse. All the children cried with joy to be free of Ronald Durkin for the rest of the afternoon. Ronald Durkin felt very foolish. On the fourth day of school, Ronald Durkin said that she, Molly, had made the snowflakes all wrong, but Molly Lou Mellon opened up her paper and revealed the most beautiful snowflake of all. All the children oohed and awed, even Ronald Durkin. On the fifth day of school, Ronald Durkin brought Molly Lou Mellon a stacking penny for her tooth and smiled at her. That night, Molly Lou Mellon took out a pencil and paper and wrote a letter to her grandma. Dear Grandma, I wanted to tell you that everything you told me was exactly right. Love, Molly Lou Mellon. There's her granny.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Mayer. Quickly, I want to thank everybody for being here tonight. I do have the children's best interest at heart. Those of you that know me know that very well. I've been a proponent of education for years. I want to see Evergreen succeed, and hopefully this plan will work for them. I want to congratulate the Public Education Foundation. They netted around $84,000 on their golf tournament for Take Stock in Children's scholarships. So we are very, very pleased with that. It was a wonderful, wonderful event, 3-day event that went on at the Country Club of Ocala. It was very well received. And Friday night is our Golden Apple event, where we will name the Teacher of the Year and hear from our Rookie Teacher of the Year, some outstanding Golden Apple teachers this year. So look forward to that and to seeing all of our Teachers of the Year who work so hard each and every day together. So with that, the chair recognizes the board's attorney, Paul Gibbs.
Thank you. Board, on behalf of attorney Suzanne Green of the Bice-Cole Law Firm, I am notifying you that advice is needed regarding pending mediation styled Jamie Langlois versus the School Board of Marion County. Pursuant to 286.011 subsection 8 Florida statutes known as the Government in the Sunshine Act, I am requesting a session with the board for the purpose of discussing settlement negotiations and strategy related to this matter. I will ask the board's secretary to cause reasonable public notice of the time and date of this session and the names of the persons attending to be published. It is suggested that the session be held following the February 22nd, 2018 administrative briefing and work session scheduled for 9 a.m. As required by the statute, only the following individuals will be present: Kelly King, Beth McCall, Angie Boynton, Bobby James, Nancy Stacy, Dr. Heidi Mayer, Paul Gibbs, Suzanne Green, with Bice-Cole. I will ask a court reporter to record the session. Also, as required by statute, her notes will be fully transcribed and filed with the clerk of the school board. Upon conclusion of the litigation, the transcript will be made public record. Thank you.
I recommend the board hold an attorney-client session pursuant to Section 286.0118 Florida statutes to discuss pending litigation.
If there are no objections, I will instruct our attorney to schedule the attorney-client session to be held following the February 22nd, 2018 administrative briefing and work session scheduled for 9 a.m. Any objection?
No.
Before addressing expulsion matters, I wish to acknowledge that board members have received the alternative placement packets for students through January 5th, 2018. Ms. Chuley, are there any parents who have submitted a timely request to speak on their child's disciplinary matter?
No, ma'am.
Okay. May I have a motion to approve the expulsion of students JD 18-4, JD 18-35, I'm sorry, JD 18-34, JD 18-35, and JD 18-36 with educational services through the remainder of the 2017-18 school year and the first semester of the 2018-19 school year.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. James.
Second.
Seconded by Ms. Boynton. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, like sign. Motion passed 5-0. There being no further business, may I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Moved
Second.
by Ms. King, seconded by Mr. James. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, like sign. Mine's not up.
Mine didn't. There it is. Well, I look forward to seeing you soon.
5-0, motion passed.
I need
Meeting
to catch
adjourned
up
at
with you.
8:20.